Chapter 1327. 1,000,000. Lin Ray was in a dilemma. 1,000,000 low-grade netherworld jades? He didn't even have 500,000, let alone 1,000,000. He only had Holy Spirit crystals, which were low-grade, mid-grade, high-grade, and top-grade. He could get whatever he wanted. 500,000 or 1,000,000 would be a piece of cake. But netherworld jades? He was new here. Where would he get any netherworld jades? The reason why he said that was because he wanted to negotiate a good price so that he could barter later. However, it was obvious that the boss wasn't willing to sell it for 500,000, which made it difficult for Lin Ray to deal with. "Boss, can you make it cheaper? Look, you've dug out this ginseng for so long. Although you've preserved it well, it still lost some of its spiritual chi." As he spoke, he took out a bottle of water observation pills and placed it on the table. He said, "Boss, look. This is a bottle of water observation pills. It's used to heal injuries. It's useful even for serious injuries. You should know that this healing pill can be said to be a cultivator's second life." Lin Ray was very confident when it came to medicinal pills. After all, no matter where he went, everyone needed medicinal pills. Medicinal pills that could save lives were the most important. Sure enough, after hearing this, the boss's gaze fell on the bottle of medicinal pills. A strange look flashed across his face. He didn't just sell spiritual herbs here. He also sold all kinds of medicinal pills, heavenly materials, and earthly treasures. With a strange look in his eyes, he picked up the medicinal pill bottle on the table with a slightly hesitant expression and opened the bottle cap. Suddenly, a refreshing medicinal fragrance emerged from the medicinal pill bottle and spread throughout the entire shop. Phew! Smelling the fragrance made one's body feel light and comfortable. The boss had an answer to Lin Ray's previous suggestion. He closed the bottle cap and looked at Lin Ray with a smile. He said, "Young friend, this medicinal pill is good stuff." As he spoke, the boss put away the medicinal pills without leaving a trace. He continued, "This bottle contains 10 medicinal pills. This way, I won't let you suffer a loss. I'll give you 5 more water observation pills, and this ginseng will be yours. What do you think?" "What?" Lin Ray wasn't willing. He didn't even need to think about it. The water observation pill was the best pill he had. It was a second-grade Saint class pill. There was nothing better than this. Now, he needed 15 pills to exchange for a single ginseng. This was undoubtedly a losing deal. One had to know that there were many elixirs needed to refine the water-viewing pill. Sejong had several elixirs that were more valuable than the ginseng in front of him. The only difference was that no one was willing to plant a ginseng for hundreds of thousands of years. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offered 10 water-observing pills. He stretched out his hand and handed it to the boss. "Give me the water-viewing pill. This sovereign doesn't want this ginseng." No. Lin Ray, he had seen murders and robberies, but it was Lin Ray's first time seeing someone rob like the boss. For a moment, Lin Ray was amused. Mother Asterisker, there were weirdos every year, but there were especially many this year. Especially after coming here, he originally thought that this place was very normal and would not be like the Saints' world. However, now his thoughts changed. The weak and the weak in the world were everywhere. This place was no exception. At this moment, Lin Ray's attitude was no longer as good as before. He was startled and a cold aura came out. "I'll give you 2 choices. First, exchange for the pills. Second, I'll give you the pills, and this sovereign will take the ginseng. From now on, we don't owe each other anything." Indeed, as far as Linley was concerned, this was the best possible outcome. Unfortunately, some people just loved to be insatiably greedy. They would never feel that it was enough, as if they wanted more. Unfortunately, these kinds of people didn't even consider whether or not they had the ability to do so. The boss shook his head and took a step back. He said coldly, "The 3 of you, my Jun Bao Hall still has some reputation in Huanghui City. If I let you go today, wouldn't this old man lose face? Give me 5 more pills, and this ginseng will be yours. Otherwise," after saying that, he signaled to the servant next to him, "Pakda." The servant understood tacitly and came to the front of the door. He stretched out his hand and closed the door. Looking at this posture, it seemed like he was going to close the door and beat the dog. No, it was like catching a turtle in a jar. Eh, that's not right either. This was inviting you to enter the jar. That's right, inviting you to enter the jar. After witnessing the boss's shamelessness, Lin Ray also gave up on him. Since the other party had done this, he did not have the slightest bit of worry. Although he learned from Zhu's example that he could not be too presumptuous, at least not in the city. However, Lin Ray really could not endure it anymore. Those pills were things that he risked his life to fight for and snatch from other people. Now he had to give them to this group of bastards in front of him. He was not in a good mood. Since he had already made his move, Lin Ray naturally did not need to be long-winded with the people in front of him. He looked at the people in front of him. In an instant, killing intent burst out. Lin Ray's body was shrouded in killing intent. Originally, we could have a good discussion. Since you're so stubborn, then you can go to hell. Right after those words left his mouth, Lin Ray's figure instantly disappeared from where he stood. His speed was so fast that he was not suppressed by this unfamiliar place. His figure disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already in front of the boss. He extended his hand to grab the boss's neck and lifted him up. You're crazy. If you make a move in the city, you'll be hunted down by all the other cities. The boss was dumbfounded, especially when he heard Lin Ray's ice-cold voice that sounded like the voice of the Grim Reaper. He was terrified. He no longer had the aggressive aura that he had before. However, Lin Ray did not care about the boss's threat at all. His principle was that as long as he was not in a good mood, he would not allow others to live happily. The boss was clearly such a person. As for him, it just so happened that Lin Ray was not in a good mood. Therefore, the hand that was grabbing the boss's neck slightly tightened. Cracking sounds could be heard. The boss's face turned red like a pig's liver. Don't kill me. Feeling the pain of death, the boss finally understood that the person in front of him was a madman. He reached out his hand to grab the ginseng on the table and placed it in front of Lin Ray. He opened his mouth to beg for mercy. Senior, Master, this ginseng is for you. Please don't kill me. I have elders and children to take care of. Cough. The boss only felt that his throat was getting more and more painful. His voice was getting softer and softer. His body gradually lost its strength. The hands that were originally raised slowly drooped down to the sides under Lin Ray's help. The ginseng in his hand directly fell to the ground. Seeing that the boss's breathing was getting more and more difficult, a bloodthirsty smile appeared on Lin Ray's face. In this world, there will always be people like you. Originally, you could have repaid the Tao very well. Unfortunately, you don't know how to cherish it. In the end, you will only bring death to yourself. After saying that, he did not waste any more time. With a cracking sound, the boss's head tilted to the side. He died and returned to his soul sea. Chapter 1328. You actually dared to kill our shopkeeper. Don't you know that killing someone in public within the city is already against the laws of the Tao Alliance? Seeing their master die, just like that, the remaining people were dumbfounded. After so many years, they had followed their boss and killed people. However, when death truly came, they finally understood that the rules of the Tao Alliance still existed. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Laws? Tao Alliance? Lin Ray smiled. He did not care about these things. Even if the Alliance Master of the Tao Alliance was here, so what? If Lin Ray wanted to kill someone, even if they were at the ends of the earth or in hell, they would not be able to escape death. Furthermore, the person was right in front of him. Seeing Lin Ray acting so unscrupulously, the remaining people did not say anything. They understood that if they could leave today, they might have a chance to avenge their master. However, would Lin Ray give them a chance? The answer was, of course not. Knowing what the crowd was thinking, Lin Ray ignored them. Kill. Leave no one alive. Swish. The moment Lin Ray finished speaking, the scarlet flaming tiger, who had been impatient for a long time, rushed out and arrived before the shop assistants. Poochie. There were no screams or cries of pain. There was only the sound of people falling to the ground. In an instant, the shop assistants were all dead. No one was left alive. Bang! Lin Ray threw the corpse in his hand to the ground. He reached out to pick up the ginseng and placed it in his storage ring. His gaze landed on the corpses on the ground, and he sneered. Why bother? If it weren't for your greed, perhaps none of the people here would have died and hugged you. As he spoke, he slowly walked to the counter. With a thought, all the cabinets on the counter opened. Suddenly, a pure nether aura spread out and filled the entire room. Boy, not bad. I didn't expect such a terrifying existence to exist in such a small shop. According to the information, these spiritual herbs could be used to concoct at least 100 cauldrons of medicinal pills. Furthermore, those 100 cauldrons of medicinal pills were all grade 4 or 5 saint grade. While Lin Ray was making his move, the scarlet flaming tiger arrived before the shopkeeper's corpse. It reached out its hand and took the medicinal pills from the shopkeeper's clothes. This guy, the flaming tiger's actions naturally did not affect Lin Ray's divine sense. In contrast, Lin Ray did not say anything. It was just a medicinal pill. If it had been given to someone else, perhaps the result would have been different. However, Lin Ray was not someone else. The deity moved and kept all the spirit herbs into the system. His spiritual will followed the spirit herbs, and the system entered the system. System, come out and see how much these spirit herbs cost. At this moment, Lin Ray did not remember to refine the pill. He was very clear about his current strength. It was impossible to refine a grade 4 or 5 pill without 100 years of time. As for these spiritual herbs, there would be more in the future. What he was most worried about now was the matter of the exchange points. He had to think of a way to make up for the huge amount of 500 million. Otherwise, the only thing that would disappear in the end would be his life. Ding! Begin probing. The system appeared and began to investigate. He could feel that with so many good things, they should be worth a lot. As he thought about it, his heart was filled with joy. Thinking that he would be able to return the money soon, he felt a little more relaxed. In the blink of an eye, 5 minutes had passed. Lin Ray, who had been waiting quietly, finally heard the system's voice. Ding! Probing complete. The spirit herbs provided by the host, converted to exchange points, are worth about 56,360,000. Ding! Host, do you want to collect them and convert them to exchange points to repay the debt? 56,360,000 exchange points. So many things, but only so little. Hearing the system's participation, Lin Ray felt despair and disappointment. After all, this was much less than what he had expected. Ding! Confirm again. Do you want to collect them? Looking at the spirit herbs, Lin Ray made up his mind and nodded. Collect them. These will be counted as exchange points, and I will repay the debt. As soon as these words came out, Lin Ray made a great decision. These things were all good things. If he could bring them back to the sect, it would be able to help many disciples improve their cultivation. Ding! Conversion complete. As repayment, the host still owes the system 51,600,000 exchange points. Please continue to work hard. Ding! Initial estimation. Hearing the system's words, Lin Ray was dumbfounded. However, while he was still puzzled, the system's voice rang out again. Life. Initial estimation. If the host wants to repay the system, he will have to rob the entire Huanghui city. Oh, a hint. Only by robbing 5 cities in this Huanghui city will you be able to repay the debt. As soon as these words came out, Lin Ray was struck by a bolt from the blue. He stood there in a daze. 5 cities like Huanghui cities, and all of them had been robbed. What kind of concept was this? Did they want him to rob them? This was the netherworld, after all. Even an expert like Zhu had to tread carefully here. He was only at the Dao fruit realm. That's not right. Suddenly, Lin Ray came to his senses. Just one store was enough to exchange for more than 50 million exchange points. Why would he need 5 cities? The system, which seemed to understand Lin Ray's thoughts, suddenly opened its mouth and explained, System, please don't be confused. Because the host has already completed the first transaction, the system that owns this item will deduct half of the exchange points. Therefore, F*CK, are you kidding me? What was the meaning of a trap? Don't call yourself a pig teammate. This was a living example. He shook his head helplessly. He had no other way to deal with the system. Since he had already fallen into the trap, he had to repay the system as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knew what kind of trouble the system would cause in the future? All right, I've repaid the money. As soon as these words were spoken, the system disappeared. Lin Ray was not surprised and did not pay too much attention to it. In the outside world, the matter of the store had been settled. As for this place, there was naturally no need to stay. He turned around and walked out of the door. Lin Ray had already taken one step out of the door. The illusory spirit bloodfire in his hand instantly destroyed the entire store. The passers-by at the door did not leave. They had never seen a dead person in Huanghui City before. Moreover, they had made such an unscrupulous public appearance. Brother Lei, how are things now? I'm afraid that we will soon be on the Dao Alliance's wanted list. That's right. Zhu was puzzled when he saw Lin Ray's relaxed and unworried expression. He opened his mouth and asked, Lin Ray, the Emperor is very curious. Why are you so calm? Are you not afraid that the Dao Alliance will make a move? Emperor, let me say this first. Helping you is not within the scope of the Emperor's profession. Furthermore, this matter today was caused by you alone. It has nothing to do with the Emperor. Therefore, if the Dao Alliance really does make a move, the two of you should pray for yourselves. Chapter 1329. Zhu had completely disassociated himself from this matter as if he had not been present at all. Lin Ray shrugged his shoulders indifferently as he stared at Zhu. He had long expected Zhu to react in this manner. Hence, Lin Ray had never thought that Zhu would be able to help. He ignored Zhu and turned towards the scarlet flaming tiger and said, Xiao Hu, believe in your brother Lei. In the past, we've been able to survive so many life and death situations. What's more, this little bit of trouble is nothing. TSK, this little bit of trouble. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? He glanced sideways at Lin Ray and Zhu and curled his lips as if he was not optimistic about their chances. Brother Lei, let's go. We'll find a restaurant and eat and drink while we wait for someone. I believe that it won't be long before someone will come knocking on our door. When that time comes, we'll have a better understanding of the underworld. After saying his piece, Lin Ray walked into the distance, leaving Zhu and Zhu with a deep and distant view of his back. Zhu felt somewhat puzzled as he stared at Lin Ray's departing figure. He simply could not understand how someone at Lin Ray's level of cultivation could act so pretentiously without any fear. Let's go. Zhu reminded Zhu before he chased after Lin Ray. The news of the shop burning down spread like the autumn wind throughout Huanghui City. There were all sorts of versions of the story. Some said that an enemy had come to seek revenge. Some said that the shop owner had failed to pay up and had ended up with his entire family being destroyed. Some said that the shop owner had forcefully kidnapped a woman and had provoked an existence that he could not afford to offend. There were all sorts of versions of the story. However, they did not notice that after this incident had occurred, no guards from the city had come to deal with it. Instead, they had allowed the fire to continue to burn. As for the rule that no one was allowed to kill in the city, everyone seemed to have forgotten about it as they quietly watched the raging fire burn wantonly. As the saying goes, one family rejoiced while another grieved. The shops that had been robbed of their business were now very happy to see their competitors die an unnatural death. Some had even booked a banquet in a restaurant to celebrate the arrival of their good day. At the center of the city, within the Yuan Tower, under the guidance of the waiter, Linley, Little Tiger, and Zhu arrived at a table and sat down. What would the three of you like to eat? In our Yuan restaurant, there are only things that you can't think of. There's nothing that Yuan restaurant can't make. As he spoke, he took out the menu from his body. A thick book, as thick as a Chinese dictionary, appeared in front of Lin Ray. Dong! The moment the menu was placed on the table, Lin Ray felt that the table couldn't bear it anymore. He even started to feel sad for the table. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Looking at the menu in front of him, the corner of Xiao Hu's mouth twitched and he felt dizzy. It was just a meal. Was there a need to make it so grand? Dear guest, you must be joking. You're the most distinguished guest of our Yuan pavilion. Tell me, why do I feel that I'm not obedient to you?" As he spoke, he took a step forward and opened the Chinese dictionary-like thing on the table. Suddenly, the contents of the book appeared in front of Lin Rei. Origin: nourishing food, soup made from various spiritual herbs, meat from various spiritual beasts. It's tasty and will obviously increase the spiritual energy in your body. Oh, not bad. Looking at the introduction on the menu, Lin Rei's interest was piqued. He had eaten many things before, but this was the first time he had seen something like this. "Brother Lei, I'm hungry. I want to eat." At the side, Xiaohu was already impatient and drooling. As for Zhu, she was even more so. After all, she had been imprisoned for so many years. Now that she was finally out, it was inevitable that she would want to eat. Just like that, Lin Rei didn't wait for the waiter to continue and close the menu. "Dear guest, is it because I didn't take good care of you, or—" Lin Rei's action attracted the waiter's attention. He thought that he wasn't good enough, but in fact, that wasn't the case. Looking at the waiter's nervous expression, Lin Rei smiled and waved his hand indifferently. "You're thinking too much. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to ask you to give me a copy of the entire menu. Of course, this is just the beginning. If we're happy, we'll continue." "Oh, right. Eating without drinking would reduce the fragrance by half." He raised his head and looked at the drinks on the counter and continued, "Give me the best drinks you have." "All right." He pointed at the table beside him. "If you buy it, give me a copy of the exact same one. Remember, the exact same one." As soon as these words came out, the entire hall fell silent. Only now did Linley realize that everyone's gazes were focused on him. Looking at the shocked and incredulous eyes of the crowd, Lin Rei didn't bother to pay attention to them. He believed that what he ordered was far from enough. After all, he was sitting with two demonic beasts. Their tastes were very big, especially for a beast like Zhu, who was even more like a bottomless pit. "You have a problem?" Right now, the waiter was standing off to the side, his mouth wide open. Linley frowned as he asked, "What's wrong?" "Hey, little guy, my brother Lei is asking you a question." The scarlet flaming tiger spoke. He hated it when Lin Rei's orders were questioned, especially by this mortal in front of him. Sure enough, after being reprimanded by the scarlet flame tiger, the waiter came back to his senses and stammered with an awkward expression, "Customers are you serious?" Chapter 1330. How is it? Zhu's voice continued to resound in the ears of everyone in the Yuan Tower. "High-grade nether jade should be enough to purchase the items I mentioned earlier." "I am sure it's enough. It's completely enough." The waiter became excited. This was a huge order. If this order was successful, the increase would be considerable. All right. Since you know, then hurry up and go." With that, Lin Rei and the other two all chose to remain silent. Seeing that there was nothing else for him to do, the waiter immediately turned around and left to make preparations. "Looks like it'll be fun in a while. I believe that the city lord of this city should be arriving soon." Lin Rei smiled when he sensed the aura that soared into the sky. "Oh, whoa." The scarlet flame tiger roared furiously. His face was filled with killing intent. "Brother Lei, don't worry. As long as they dare to come, I'll tear them apart. I'll let them know what it's like when an emperor is angry. 1,000,000 corpses will fall." "This, little tiger, don't get so worked up." Lin Rei understood that little tiger was so worked up because of him. He hurriedly calmed little tiger down and turned his head to look at Zhu, who was rejoicing in his misfortune. He frowned. He could not tolerate Zhu's actions. If it were not for the fact that he had agreed to Zhu's request and that he possessed the item that Lin Rei needed the most, they probably would not have gotten along like this. However, there was naturally a way to get along. Lin Rei could not tolerate Zhu's current actions. "Zhu, I know that you have your own pride as an expert. However, I hope that you can put away your pride with me." "What did you say?" Zhu was enraged. He released his killing intent. Suddenly, the temperature in the room plummeted. It was as cold as winter. He stared angrily at Linley. He couldn't figure out what Linley was capable of. What gave him the right to be so unbridled? If this had been in the past, These words would have been enough to take his life. Zhu, you need to remember that only I know how to return to the Saint world here. If you want to undo the seal on your domain, you better behave yourself. It's best if you don't play any tricks during this time, Jian Shen said. After saying that, Lin Rei did not say anything else. As for Zhu, he quickly calmed down and turned to look at Lin Rei. The temperature within the restaurant rose rapidly. However, it had only happened for an instant, and no one there noticed anything amiss. Little tiger, remember, the most important thing for you now is to accumulate your strength and break through to the Saint realm. As for the city lord, leave him to me. Don't worry about this little bastard. After saying that, he gave little tiger a reassuring smile and stopped talking. The Scarlet Flame Tiger wanted to say something, but he did not say it in the end. As for Zhu, he sat to one side, unhappily. Lin Rei's actions today had already crossed the limits of what he could endure. He swore that he would make Lin Rei pay a corresponding price once he returned to the Saint's world. Lu Ding and the others hovered in the air, not far away from the Yuan Pavilion. The people in the restaurant had not sensed the sudden and terrifying killing intent, but they had sensed it clearly. Everyone, what do you think? Looking down, Yi Futian's face was solemn. Thinking back to the murderous aura just now, that soul-stirring, murderous intent made him feel as if he was in a boundless azure field. There was only murderous intent around him, and only by killing could he survive. At this moment, the people who followed Lu Ding all had stern expressions. Just how many people did he have to kill to condense such a killing intent? He did not dare to think about it, because it did not exist in the underworld. Yet, he had encountered it here. Zhong Yaoming nodded as he looked at Lu Ding. He even said what he wanted to say. City Lord, an existence like that is not something we can deal with. The only thing we can do now is to sound him out and see what he plans to do and how long he plans to stay here. If necessary, we will do our best to help. As long as we can get this maleficent existence out, we will agree to anything. As soon as he said that, everyone nodded in unison. After making the decision, they did not hesitate and walked toward the Yuan Pavilion where Lin Rei was. Oh, they're here. Sensing those energies slowly draw closer, a smile appeared on Linley's face. Linley had known about their arrival long ago. Thus, he wasn't surprised at all. Brother Lei, do you want me to create some chaos for them? Xiaohu asked. No need. Lin Rei shook his head and refused. He continued, this time I want to get some information about the underworld from them. So, we don't have to do anything. We just have to wait for them to come. The dishes were served one by one. Lin Rei and the others began to eat unhurriedly. However, not long after, Lu Ding and the others came in from outside. Using his divine sense, he sensed their auras and his smile widened. I did not expect that a city lord would come for a wilderness idler like me. At this moment, Lin Rei was really pretending to be innocent. He knew why this group of people was here, but, haha, you must be joking. Lu Ding smiled and walked toward Lin Rei. He bowed and said, I don't know why you are here. Moreover, your auras are a little unfamiliar. You don't seem to be cultivators from the underworld. As soon as he said that, Lin Rei frowned. Obviously, he had underestimated Lu Ding. He did not expect this guy to be able to tell that he was not a cultivator from the underworld from his aura. Lin Rei was interested in Lu Ding. He put down his chopsticks and looked up at Lu Ding with a smile. He raised his hand and pointed at the table beside him. My friend, I ordered too much just now. Why don't we sit down and talk while we eat? Oh, hearing this, Lu Ding looked over and saw that the dishes on the table beside him were exactly the same as those on Lin Rei's table. Lu Ding frowned when he saw this. He was a smart person. It would be strange if he still did not understand after seeing this. This was enough to prove that the person in front of him clearly knew that they were coming, so he made the reservation in advance. When he thought of this, he became even more vigilant against Lin Rei. It was not a good thing for such a person to appear in his territory. Although he thought about it, he did not refuse. He made an inviting gesture to the group beside him and said, Come, since this fellow cultivator has made such arrangements, how can we not give him face? As he said that, Lu Ding sat down and grabbed the wine bottle on the table. He raised his head and took a sip of wine. Suddenly, a spicy taste rushed up his throat. Good wine. At this moment, the atmosphere was completely open. Looking at Lu Ding, Lin Rei went straight to the point. He said, "My friend, I am here for no other reason than to ask you about the underworld." As he said that, he raised his wine cup and made an inviting gesture. However, this scene was different in Lu Ding's eyes. Lin Rei's words proved that he was indeed not from the underworld, but from the outer realm. At this moment, it was even more different. The atmosphere became serious. No one spoke. Lin Rei's group and Lu Ding's group looked at each other. The atmosphere was so serious that it made one's hair stand on end. Chapter 1331. The atmosphere grew more and more serious. It was as if a battle could break out at any moment. Ha ha! Suddenly, Lin Rei laughed. He laughed very happily. It was as if he had encountered something that made him happy. Looking at Lu Ding and the others, Lin Rei said with a smile, "Lord City Lord, do you think there's a need for us to do this? You give me what I need, and I'll give you what you need. Tell me, isn't this perfect? There's no need to make sparks fly everywhere." As he said that, he took a sip of wine. With those words, the solemn atmosphere was instantly broken. The atmosphere returned to how it was before. "I wonder, fellow Taoist, what do you want to know?" Although Lu Ding appeared to be relaxed, his body grew more and more tense. Once Lu Ding said those words, everyone's gazes enveloped Lin Rei. They also wanted to know why the person before them had come. Profound Sect. Was there a sect called the Profound Sect in the underworld? Where was it? How strong was it? Profound Sect? Originally, he thought that Lin Rei would ask him some secrets of the underworld that he could not answer. Unexpectedly, the moment he said those words, he was completely stunned. Not only him, the people who came with him were also stunned. It was not that they had never heard of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. However, in their impression, the Celestial Sect of Wonders seemed to be a very, very small sect. Furthermore, it was within his jurisdiction. You know about it? Lin Rei saw the expressions of the crowd. From their expressions, Lin Rei was able to tell that this group of people before him definitely knew about the Profound Sect. As for Zhongli's claim that the strongest person in their sect was only a star spirit, Lin Rei no longer believed that after coming here. Furthermore, what exactly was the strength of a star spirit? Earlier, Zhu had said that as long as the people of the underworld left the underworld, their cultivation would be suppressed. Since that was the case, then what exactly was his level in this place? After coming to this unknown world, if he could enter a sect, perhaps he would be able to find out everything he wanted to know there. For example, how the underworld came to be, and where exactly was the empty underworld located in the universe. Faced with Lin Rei's burning gaze, Lu's expression kept changing. In the end, he opened his mouth and told Lin Rei everything he knew. "Senior, the Xuanzong sect is under my jurisdiction, but..." As he spoke, Lu Ding stopped, as if he found it difficult to continue. Lu Ding stopped. Lin Rei frowned, a look of displeasure flashing across his face. "Continue." Yes. Lu Ding did not dare to be negligent and continued. "The Celestial Sect of Wonders is the weakest sect in my jurisdiction." It can't be said to be the weakest sect. It's one of the weakest. Their sect's most recent disciple is only at the Star Spirit realm, so, as he spoke, he shrugged and didn't continue speaking. Upon hearing these words, Lin Rei narrowed his eyes slightly. It was exactly the same as what Zhongli said. However, the definition of cultivation in this world was different from that in the Saint's world. If he were here, what would his cultivation be like? Thinking about it, he raised his head and looked at Lu Ding and the others. A smile flashed across his face. "City Lord, may I know what my cultivation level is in the underworld?" As he spoke, he instantly released his cultivation of the great perfection Tao Fruit Realm. Suddenly, the entire Huanghui city was enveloped by Lin Rei's powerful pressure in an instant. Plop, plop. Suddenly, the sound of people falling to the ground rang out. The entire Huanghui city was in chaos. Some of the weaker people fell to the ground and fainted the moment they felt Lin Rei's pressure. Those who were slightly stronger just lay on the ground and didn't faint. Of course, there were also some people kneeling on the ground. They tried to resist the pressure with their own cultivation. Even City Lord Lu Ding and the others directly knelt on the ground when they felt the pressure. Their bodies trembled as if the person in front of them was an emperor. They didn't dare to look directly at him. How is this possible? Kneeling on the ground, his body trembled. He was extremely shocked. He didn't even think that Lin Rei would have such a powerful cultivation. Just by releasing his cultivation, he could put them in such a sorry state. If that was the case, then in a real battle, let alone a single move, they wouldn't even be able to move half a move. At this moment, just as everyone was shocked by Lin Rei's cultivation, a miserable cry rang out from the side. Looking over, they saw a young man lying on the ground with a ferocious expression. He was in extreme pain as he branded Lin Rei and the others. That youth had left a very deep impression on Lin Li and the others, especially the unwillingness in his eyes. It was as if he didn't want to submit to others. It was a very impactful sight. Senior, hurry up. Your pressure is too strong. The people of Huang Hui City can't bear it. Lu Ding said quickly. Not only the people of the city, but even he, the city lord, couldn't bear it. Although he didn't know who the person in front of him was, his cultivation was extremely powerful. Moreover, he couldn't sense his cultivation at all. However, one thing was for sure. The cultivation of the person in front of him had already surpassed the crepe myrtle star and entered a deeper level. Looking at the anxious looks on Lu Ding and the others' faces, Lin Li shrugged and nodded in boredom, agreeing to their request. In just an instant, the pressure disappeared. Everyone felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. Cold sweat covered their entire bodies, and they were all drenched. At this moment, there was a different scene in Huang Hui City. City Lord, I wonder, what level is my cultivation in the netherworld? Hearing this, Lu Ding and the others were stunned. They looked troubled. Only Lu Ding took the initiative to step forward. He bowed and said, Senior, your cultivation is not something that we can judge. What do you mean? Senior, your cultivation has already surpassed the crepe myrtle star realm. We don't know the details. Our cultivation is at most at the low level of the star venerable realm. We really don't know what the realms above are. Hearing this, Lin Rei was a little disappointed. The crepe myrtle star was the highest realm that Zhongli had mentioned. However, suddenly, Lu Ding spoke once more. Senior, my Huang Hui City is only a 9th grade city. If you head to a higher grade city, you might be able to find the answer you want to find. Moreover, there are even more powerful cultivators there. I believe that they should know the answer you want to know. Hearing this, Lu Ding used all his strength. The reason why he said this was because he didn't want Lin Rei to continue staying here. A strong and uncontrollable cultivator, like him, was undoubtedly a threat to him this time. He wouldn't allow this to happen. He also wouldn't allow his dignity to be challenged. Are you chasing me away? Looking up at Lu Ding, a faint smile appeared on his face. He knew what Lu Ding was thinking. Lu Ding just didn't want him to continue staying here. However, could Lin Rei let them do as they wished? What a joke. Although he didn't get what he wanted to know here, if he let this place become stronger and used this place as a base to explore other areas, then would there be powerful cultivators coming here? At that time, what he wanted to know would come to him voluntarily. How can we let something so delicious go to waste? After saying that, he lowered his head and started eating again. At this moment, the matter had already been decided. He might have to stay in Huanghui City for a longer period of time. He raised his head and said to Zhu, during this period of time, if you have nothing to do, go out and take a look. See what kind of organization this Tao Alliance is and how powerful they are. If they don't attack, destroy them. Boom. Lin Rei did not use any vocabulary when he spoke. Lu Ding and the others heard him clearly. This news was like a bolt from the blue, striking their hearts. As the saying goes, the speaker doesn't mean anything, but the listener does. With regard to Lin Rei, They didn't want to say anything more. What did it mean to be strong? This was King strong. They were still thinking about how to invite him out. However, the first thing he said was to destroy the Tao Alliance. What kind of tone was that? What kind of joke was that? How powerful was the Tao Alliance? How many celestial body stage cultivators were there? How could they be destroyed by you? Just as Lu Ding and the others were deep in thought, Zhu's voice rang out. I say, Linli, you're a saint after all. Why do you want to destroy others at the slightest provocation? Besides, what right do you have to make me go? Didn't we agree earlier that I will only protect your personal safety? It's not good for you to go back on your word like this. After hearing those words, Lu Ding and the others felt much better. After all, this person's words were not as unpleasant as Lin Rei's. However, just as this thought appeared in their minds, Zhu's voice rang out again. Furthermore, is this Tao Alliance worthy of this sovereign taking action? In my opinion, this little guy beside you is just right to take action. This way, there will be no need for this sovereign to take action. After saying that, he ignored Lin Rei and began to eat. Lin Rei felt helpless as he looked at Zhu. He knew that this guy was uncontrollable. Sigh, there was nothing he could do. Who asked him to be so strong? However, he didn't notice that Lu Ding's expression froze the moment Zhu finished speaking. He originally thought that Zhu was different from Lin Rei. He didn't expect that Zhu was even crazier than Lin Rei. Disdaining to take action? Damn it, this is the Tao Alliance. Can you guys be more serious? Perhaps the Tao Alliance was nothing in Lin Rei's eyes. However, in Lu Ding's heart, the Tao Alliance was a supreme existence. It was because of the Tao Alliance that they were able to pass their days peacefully. Soon, everyone quieted down. The meal was finished just as they had imagined. Lu Ding's heart skipped a beat as he ate the meal. It was also the most painful experience in his life. He swore that he would never feel this way again. It was too unbearable. After they finished eating, the dishes were still being served. There were too many dishes in one menu. However, they still hadn't finished eating after eating so much. This made Lu Ding and the others wonder how much Lin Rei had ordered. He stood up and strolled over to Lin Rei, who was eating with his head lowered. He said, Senior, look, we've finished eating. I wonder if we can leave first? Lu Ding was afraid that Lin Rei wouldn't let him go. In the end, Lu Ding said that he had finished his business in the city. In the end, Lu Ding and the others left with ease. After watching everyone leave, Lin Rei put down his chopsticks and looked at the chair. He smiled. He had already gotten the result he wanted. He was just saying that he wanted to destroy the Tao Alliance just now to intimidate the other party. Of course, he also had another thought. If Lu Ding really informed the upper echelons of the Tao Alliance to come, he might be able to obtain more information from him, especially the method to help Zhu break free from the sealing formation and the location of a sealer. In the netherworld, what Linli feared the most was encountering a sealer. He didn't want to encounter a sealer as soon as he entered the netherworld, only to end up like a candle and be sealed away by a sealer. If that really happened, there would be no hope for him to return to the holy world. His daughter, wife, and sect would all decline because of him. Of course, although the 9 Heavens Xuanzong sect could survive in the divine world, it was only the lowest level of existence. Zhu, do you still remember the appearance of the old man who sealed you? What do you mean? Zhu was stunned. Nonsense. Of course, I'll take a detour when I see him in the future. Do you think I'll be like you, overestimating myself and touching a tiger's butt? Chapter 1333. Zhu was extremely impressed by Linli's ability to bring up the taboo topic. Originally, after being released, he did not want to think about those rotten things of the past. Unexpectedly, he did not want to think about it. However, Linli insisted on bringing it up. He had no choice. A helpless expression appeared on his face as he smiled bitterly. I will never forget that old man's face, but he looked at Lin Rei and reminded him, that guy isn't someone you can touch right now. Moreover, that guy won't appear in such a low-level province. Don't worry, I can't guarantee anything else, but I'm very sure of this. This Lu province has nothing. The nether chi is so thin. It won't do him any good to come here. Lin Ray secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Zhu's words. He relaxed. As long as he didn't encounter a sealer, everything would be fine. All right, if that's the case, let's play around here. As long as I find what I want and accumulate some nether jade, we'll be able to leave here and return to the Saint's world. After saying what he wanted to say, he did not continue. Right now, the bloodline grass was easy to deal with, and the nether jades weren't difficult. The most important thing now was the sealing formation that sealed Zhu. That thing wasn't something he could break just because he wanted to. Even the simplest method of breaking the formation was to break it with brute force. It also depended on one's strength. Even Zhu, who was so strong, couldn't do anything about it, let alone him, who was only at the Dao fruit realm. If he wanted to break the sealing formation, he had to break through to the eternal life realm at the very least. That was the lowest standard. Even if he broke through to the eternal life realm, he couldn't break it unless he continued to cultivate until he surpassed the sealer. As such, breaking the sealing formation was absolutely foolproof. There wouldn't be any problems. Just like that, Lin Ray stayed in the Origin Tower after eating a meal. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Within these 3 days, Lin Li had gained a thorough understanding of Huang Huicheng. He didn't know much about Huang Huicheng, but when he did, he was stunned. He knew that the cultivators in this city were weak, but he didn't expect them to be this weak. In the entire city, only Lu Ding and the few people he had brought with him had decent strength. The rest were trash. It was not an exaggeration at all. He believed that even the weakest disciple from his sect would be able to crush everyone in the city. In Huanghui City, there were both ordinary people and cultivators. It was a city of cultivators. Within it, there were places to buy and sell heavenly materials and earthly treasures. There was also an auction house and a chamber of commerce. Most importantly, there were also the 4 great unions. As for the cultivation clans, they existed as well. The main city of Huanghui City was led by the 3 great clans. Among them, Lu Ding was the current clan leader of the Lu clan, which was the head of the 3 great clans. The remaining 2 clans were the Wang clan and the Shi clan. Among them, other than the Lu clan, the second strongest was the Shi clan. The Shi clan's rock explosion spell was especially famous. It was said that when a cultivator who cultivated the rock explosion spell reached a high realm, his entire body would be covered by a special mineral. Even a cultivator who was a realm higher than his predecessor would have no way to defend against it. The remaining Wang clan was also a merchant clan. It could be said that 2/3 of the economic lifeline of Huanghui City was in the hands of the Wang clan. Most of the shops in the city belonged to the Wang clan. The cultivators in the clan were also very powerful. It could be said that even if the other 2 clans wanted to destroy them, they would have to think carefully about whether they could withstand the economic blow. In the early morning, a refreshing breeze blew past. The door of the room where Lin Ray was opened and Lin Ray walked out of the room. Today, Lu Ding was coming here. He had sent a message saying that he had something to discuss. Now, in front of the door, the old man looked up at the blue sky and his mood was inexplicably good. I don't know why Lu Ding is looking for me. Thinking of Lu Ding's idea of wanting him to leave, Lin Ray felt that it was very funny. In fact, Lu Ding didn't have to do this. One should know that with his cultivation, if he wanted Huanghui City, there was no need to talk nonsense with him. It would be easier to just kill him and let him take it for himself. It was just that Lu Ding was confused by the situation. Of course, Lin Ray didn't have the slightest intention to explain this. After all, this was actually quite interesting. He tidied his clothes and walked towards the remote restaurant. Just now, he had probed with his divine sense and found that Lu Ding had arrived. At the door of the remote restaurant, Lu Ding came with Wang Yu. After 3 days, he came here again. Wang Yu was deeply moved. Just think about it. 3 days ago, he felt the feeling of death here. Now, he came here again and saw the man who frightened him again. How could he not be nervous? You're here. Lin Ray, who happened to walk out of Ho Yuan, saw the 2 people at the door and waved. It was early in the morning, so there weren't many people in the restaurant. Hearing Lin Ray's greeting, Lu Ding and Wang Yu's expressions were tense. They hurriedly stepped in front of Lin Rei and bowed respectfully. "Senior, have you been well these days? What's this guy talking about?" Hearing Lu Ding's words, Wu Yu, who followed Lu Ding, was speechless. As a cultivator, unless he met an enemy that he couldn't defeat or his life was coming to an end, there was no saying that he was not well. Wu Yu rolled his eyes and said to Lu Ding, "Senior, this time we came less because a secret territory in the secluded valley will be opened soon. So, I wanted to invite you to come and watch the opening of the secret territory in the secluded valley." "I don't know." Wu Yu was not sure. He lowered his head and was very nervous. After all, he had seen the strength of the person in front of him. If he could be invited, it would be beneficial for the secluded valley in the future. As one of the leaders of the secluded valley, how could he not be nervous? Yes. "Senior, when the Dragon Springs secret territory in the secluded valley opens, the disciples of the various sects in the Lu province will gather there. Maybe you can meet the people of the Xuanzong sect there." Lu Ding hurriedly added, "Oh, really?" To be honest, he was a little surprised that the two of them suddenly invited him less. After all, his previous intimidation had made the two of them completely afraid of him. But now, the two of them still dared to invite him less. He had to admit that Wu Yu was very brave. He raised his head and stared at the two of them. After thinking for a while, a smile appeared on his face. "I can go to the secluded valley. But, Senior, please say it. As long as you say it, I can give you anything." As long as Lin Rei agreed, he could give him some money. "Oh, actually, you don't have to be so nervous." Seeing Wu Yu like this, Lin Rei smiled and continued, "I need some underworld elixir recipes, elixir refining techniques, and bloodline grass." "No problem, Senior. You can enter the secluded valley's library as you wish. Although I can't guarantee that the library in the secluded valley is comprehensive, it is one of the best in the Lu province." Hearing this, Lu Ding's eyes widened. The Sutra Depository was the foundation of a sect. It was the symbol of a sect's rise and fall. But now, Worryless had agreed so easily. This was, "Are you sure?" Lu Ding was shocked, but Lin Rei was even more shocked. No one knew the importance of the library better than he did. If a sect was compared to a person, then the library was the heart of this person. It was the source of all power. Now that the Daylily had agreed so readily, Lin Li couldn't quite believe it. "You really want to open the library in the secluded valley to me?" Lin Rei asked for confirmation again. "That's right." Regarding Lin Rei's confirmation, Wu Yu nodded without any hesitation. Looking at Wu Yu, Lin Rei was interested. "Can you make this decision in the secluded valley?" "I don't want to go to the secluded valley with you, and you can't make this decision. If that happens, I will be angry. Little guy, I'm very scary when I'm angry. I don't need to worry about millions of corpses. Have you thought it through?" As for the stronger sects, there were even earth saints and heavenly saints. But here, is it really like what Lu Ding said? The place is barren? He could not figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. After all, this matter was not important to him. "Little brother, please wait." Coming back to his senses, Lin Rei looked at the young man who was passing by. He took a step forward and said, "Little brother, this is my first time here. Please forgive me for disturbing you." It's nothing." Being suddenly called out to, he had wanted to explode. But seeing Lin Li being so courteous and polite, he instantly suppressed his urge to explode. Seeing that the young man was not angry, Lin Rei smiled and continued, "Little brother, I would like to ask, is the Alchemy Union easy to walk around?" "Alchemy Union?" Looking at Lin Rei, the young man was stunned. "That's right." Seeing that Lin Rei nodded, the young man nodded and turned around. He pointed at a road in the distance and said, "Go straight on this road and turn right at the end. When you see the Wang clan's pharmacy, turn left and you will reach the Alchemy Union in a few minutes." Hearing such detailed information, Lin Rei smiled and bowed. "Thank you, little brother." "Oh, it's nothing." Shaking his head, he turned around and left. Looking at the young man's departing figure, Lin Rei sighed. There are still many good people around. After saying that, He turned around and walked toward the direction the young man had pointed. Lin Ray was not in a hurry. After walking for an hour, he arrived at the main point of the road the young man had pointed out. Raising his head, the words Alchemy Union appeared in front of Lin Ray's eyes. I'm finally here. Looking at the huge door in front of him, Lin Ray had a feeling that this was the Holy World's Alchemy Union. Suppressing his excitement, he stepped through the door of the Alchemy Union and arrived at the main hall of the Alchemy Union. This guest, may I know the purpose of your visit? As soon as Linley stepped into the main hall, one of the attendants, who had always been by his side, stepped forward and spoke. Buying pills? Buying or selling spirit herbs? Or are you looking for an alchemist to refine a specific pill? Hearing the attendant's question, Lin Ray frowned slightly. He looked around and saw that the interior of the main hall did not give off a luxurious feeling. Instead, it was simple and grand, giving off a comfortable feeling. This guest, may I know the purpose of your visit? Seeing that Lin Ray did not speak, the attendant's good temper disappeared under Lin Ray's silence. Dear guest, if you don't have anything else to do, then I won't accompany you any further. There are other guests waiting for me over there. As he spoke, he saw that Linley was still staring ahead. He shook his head helplessly and turned to leave. Do you have bloodline grass here? Chapter 1334. Bloodline grass? The attendant paused, turned around, and looked at Lin Ray with a doubtful gaze. He had been working in the Alchemy Guild for so many years. Although he wasn't an alchemist, after so many years, he still knew a little about some basic spiritual herbs. Even if it was some rare spiritual herbs, he still knew a little about them. But this bloodline grass, needless to say, after working here for so many years, this was the first time he heard of this kind of medicinal herb. He even suspected that the guest in front of him was here to buy spiritual herbs. That's right, bloodline grass. Lin Ray nodded. Seeing the attendant's doubtful face, it was obvious that the other party hadn't heard of it before. Lin Ray didn't say much. Call out your manager or alchemist here. If you don't know, perhaps they should know. Bloodline grass is very important to me, so please hurry up. In order to not delay the attendant's work, he could only do this. As the saying goes, the speaker has no intention, but the listener has an intention. Seeing Lin Ray speaking in a commanding tone, for a moment, he was a little displeased. As an attendant of the Alchemy Guild, although he couldn't be compared to the big shots in Huanghui City, in the eyes of some small people, he still had some weight. After all, if they wanted to cooperate with the Alchemy Guild, they would need to introduce them here. As the saying goes, being in a high position, some selfish and narrow-minded people would change their mentality when looking at others. For example, the attendant now, in his opinion, his status was more noble than Lin Ray. At this moment, Lin Ray's tone was commanding him, which made him angry. Looking at Lin Ray, his eyes widened. His anger came from his heart, and his eyes were full of disdain. He didn't hide it at all. Kid, do you know who you're talking to? Lin Ray. Looking at the attendant, Lin Ray was stunned. What was the meaning of this? Who was he talking to? Wasn't he just an attendant of the Alchemy Guild? What? You're the president of the Alchemy Guild. The disdain in the attendant's eyes was reflected in Linley's eyes. Linley's previously polite demeanor disappeared. Lin Ray disliked people like attendants the most. What's the matter? Isn't it just an Alchemy Guild attendant? He wasn't even an alchemist, yet he was so arrogant and despotic. Could it be that the Alchemist Guild was filled with such people? Linley was amused by the waiter's words. However, his killing intent instantly flared up. Killing intent flashed through his eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to cause any trouble here, the waiter would have died in a matter of minutes. Suppressing the killing intent in his heart, he looked at the attendant and forced out a smile. He continued, "Little guy, go and call your union's manager out. Moreover, do you think you can withstand my anger?" As the saying goes, if the matter does not concern you personally, don't worry about it. It's best that you don't get involved in this matter. Obediently go and report it. If you continue to talk too much here, or if you have any thoughts about me, at that time, not to mention the manager of the Alchemy Guild, even the president of the Alchemy Guild won't be able to protect you. Moreover, Do you think your little life is worth anything to be able to invite the president of the Alchemy Guild? Lin Ray was very clear about this point. Of course, he couldn't guarantee that he was the kind of person who would protect his own. However, even if that was the case, could the president of the Alchemy Guild be his opponent? What a joke. Hearing Linley's words, the faces of the attendants grew darker and darker. Some of the people in the surrounding area, who rarely came to buy and sell pills and spirit medicines, began to gather around Linley and Li Mu, forming a circle around them. Hearing Lin Ray's words, some people revealed a look of schadenfreude. Some of them looked at Lin Ray with sympathy. In their opinion, causing trouble in the Alchemy Guild was no different from courting death. At this moment, Lin Ray was the one who was courting death in their hearts. Sigh, he's overestimating himself. Causing trouble in the Alchemy Guild. Isn't he courting death? That's right. I don't know whose foolish son this guy is. He actually did such a thing. If his family knew, would they tie him up and send him to the Alchemy Guild? Isn't that right? What kind of existence is the Alchemy Guild? Is it something that anyone can provoke? What a joke. Sigh, what a pity. Such a handsome young man is so wasted. In an instant, the surrounding people revealed looks of pity and began to discuss enthusiastically. Moreover, their voices were so loud that Lin Ray heard them. In an instant, Lin Ray's face darkened. What was the meaning of this? Were they looking down on him? Although he was displeased, he didn't argue with the crowd. After all, people were like this. They were the amalgamation of gossip. There was no other way. However, Lin Ray couldn't tolerate the attendant anymore. In any case, he was a powerful expert in the divine realm. He was an existence that suppressed all the gods. Yet, he was being looked down upon by a young man. This was truly a blow to his self-esteem. When his gaze landed on the attendant again, his gaze gradually changed. He no longer concealed his killing intent. Originally, he didn't want to cause trouble. However, it seemed that trouble had come knocking on his door. At this moment, the attendant didn't know that Lin Ray had submitted to him. As for him, he was still feeling proud of the words that the surrounding people were discussing. Because of this, the attendant became even more arrogant. It was as if the heavens were the boss, and he was the second in command. He had been indirectly praised to the heavens. Young man, the Alchemy Guild isn't something that you can offend. If you know what's good for you, kneel down, kowtow, and admit your mistake. Then, this matter will be resolved. Otherwise, as he spoke, his eyes narrowed and killing intent flashed through them. Oh, looking at the crowd and the attendant, Lin Ray's interest was greatly piqued. He continued, "What if I refuse? What can you do about it?" "Young man, I'm giving you a way out, but you don't want it. Since that's the case, then prepare to accept the judgment of fate." At this moment, Lin Ray had already been sentenced to death in the attendant's heart. As for the attendant, he didn't know that he had also been sentenced to death in Lin Ray's heart. He raised his head and shouted towards the entrance, "Lord Guard, someone is causing trouble in the Alchemy Guild. Please execute him." Once those words were spoken, everyone looked towards the direction that the attendant was looking at. When they saw a group of soldiers wearing red armor walking over from the entrance, they subconsciously opened up a path for the soldiers to pass by. Ta-ta-ta. When the sound of footsteps entered everyone's ears, it was as if a clear sky hammer was hammering on their hearts. Dong, dong, dong. It was very frightening. Naturally, Lin Ray noticed the group of soldiers. However, he didn't put them in his eyes at all. On the contrary, the attendant had a fawning expression on his face as he ran to the front of the soldiers. He bowed respectfully and said, "Lord Guard, this is the person who is being impudent in the Alchemy Guild. He even said that our Alchemy Guild is nothing but a fart. He even said that the guards with cultivation are like vermin in the Alchemy Guild, ants among ants. Listen to him. How can I tolerate him insulting all of you? Therefore, Lord, let's use this as a warning and let them understand that our Alchemy Guild's prestige is still there. Not just anyone can provoke the Alchemy Guild." Once those words were spoken, it had to be said that the skill of adding fuel to the fire was really good. Chapter 1335. Sure enough, after hearing the servant's words, a group of 6 guards instantly exploded with killing intent. Their eyes locked onto Lin Ray, as if they were about to attack. "Are you sure you want to attack?" Looking at them, Lin Ray finally spoke. He still didn't want to cause trouble here. After all, the strength of the Alchemy Union had already exceeded his imagination. Of course, if they really wanted to attack, then there would be no need for him to be afraid. Hearing how arrogant Linley was, some of the onlookers couldn't help but feel pity for Linley. In the end, those who wanted to speak up and explain themselves were all pushed far away, no longer paying any attention to Linley. They became mere spectators. You're just a nobody. Let's see if you can't pay me back. Now you know how powerful I am." They were incomparably delighted. Thinking that Lin Ray was about to die, they couldn't help but become even more excited. "Guest, those who humiliate our union cannot be allowed to live. So, please go to hell." The leader of the guards raised the long sword in his hand and placed it in front of his chest. Suddenly, sword intent filled the entire hall. This sword intent is too strong. Such a person is actually a guard of the Union. Oh my God, sword intent in the realm. This person's cultivation is too strong. I wonder which family's disciple he is from. If he can be accepted into the family, will they be able to obtain more resources for the city defense battle at the end of that year? TSK, not simple. Seeing the strength of the leader of the guards, there was no lack of people from the aristocratic families in the city. This kind of person was exactly what they needed. In a moment, everyone started to have ulterior motives. On the contrary, Lin Ray helplessly shook his head at the leader's decision. He felt that it was a pity that he made such an incorrect decision. In Lin Ray's eyes, he didn't care whether the other party was a simple genius or not. In his opinion, as long as the other party was on his must-kill list, even if the other party was the king of heaven, even if the other party's father was Li Gang, it was useless. Looking at the young man, Lin Ray helplessly shook his head and sighed. His face was full of regret. "I really don't know how your brain is developed. Since you don't use your brain to think, then there's no point in keeping you." Whoosh! As he spoke, Lin Ray's figure suddenly disappeared. What? Of those present, only the guards were slightly stronger. Seeing the guards vanish, the leader of the guards sheathed his sword and looked around warily. How is this possible? How can this person be so fast? His cultivation can't be completed. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. "Not good. This person's cultivation is very strong. Quickly leave. Poochie." The sound of flesh being cut was heard, and at this moment, the guard leader's voice came to an abrupt halt. Feeling the pain coming from his throat, he looked in shock at Lin Ray, who had already appeared. He reached out and touched his neck. When he raised his hand to look, he saw a scarlet color appear, and a deathly gray color flashed in his eyes. Seeing the guard leader like this, Lin Ray glanced at him expressionlessly and then ignored him. He turned around and looked at the remaining people. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, revealing his bloodthirsty expression. How is this possible? How can this guy be so strong? His cultivation, this guy, even though he is in the Alchemy Guild, he actually dared to do such a thing. Could it be that he really doesn't want to leave the Alchemy Guild? It's too late, it's too late. Someone died in the Alchemy Guild, and he wants to leave. The surrounding people were discussing incessantly. Lin Ray's strength was beyond their expectations. In their opinion, Lin Ray had no hope of surviving. Who would have thought that the situation would be reversed, and it would be so straightforward? Put on. At this moment, the guard leader regained his senses and looked at the guard leader's corpse. A chill ran down his spine. At this moment, he realized that he seemed to have offended someone extraordinary. Lin Ray ignored the surrounding people's discussion. He turned around and fixed his gaze on the guard leader on the ground. The bloodthirsty expression on his face became even more intense. "Brat, I originally only wanted you to accompany your manager. Since you want to court death, I will fulfill your wish today. I will let you understand that there are some people in this world that you cannot afford to offend. Even if you're in the Alchemy Guild, so what? There are still some people that you cannot afford to offend." After he finished speaking, he took a step forward and appeared in front of the remaining guards. A sword ray flashed by, and the corpses of the guards fell to the ground. Their deaths were exactly the same as the guard leaders. There was no difference at all. This is the Alchemy Guild. If you do this, the president will not let you off. Even when he was about to die, the guard leader was still using the power behind him as a bargaining chip to threaten Lin Ray. In Lin Ray's opinion, this was ridiculous. Shaking his head, he raised his head and looked at the Alchemy Guild. Manager of the Alchemy Guild, get the hell out here. 1 minute. I will only give you 1 minute. If I don't see you all, then, after taking a glance at the Alchemy Guild, he continued, the entire Alchemy Guild will be destroyed. From today onwards, the Alchemy Guild will no longer exist in Huanghui City. After he finished speaking, he lowered his head and looked at the guard leader. With a sneer, he said, today, I will let you know what kind of existence you have offended. The power that you think is extraordinary in front of me is nothing. Everyone was shocked by Lin Ray's words. He was trying to challenge the entire Alchemy Guild by himself. At the Alchemy Guild, sounds of furnaces exploding could be heard. Following the sounds of furnaces exploding, angry songs could be heard. In a room located in the deepest part of the Alchemy Guild, an old man's hand trembled and a piece of calligraphy was destroyed. Raising his head, he looked at the source of the sound with killing intent. How many years has it been? How many years has it been since someone dared to cause trouble in the Alchemy Guild? Putting down the writing brush in his hand, he walked out of the room and headed towards Lin Ray's location. As for the remaining upper echelons of the Alchemy Guild, they did not dare to delay and headed towards the source of the sound. Originally, it was just a business transaction. It was a very simple matter. But now it turned out like this. To put it nicely, it was a business dispute. But to put it bluntly, it was just someone who had nothing better to do. It could have been resolved perfectly, but releasing his divine sense, he sensed that more than 10 people were heading towards him. A smile appeared on his face. Today, he was going to make an example out of them. Thinking about it, the boss's family must have been suppressed by Lu Ding. Otherwise, it was impossible for these people to not recognize him. Glancing at the crowd, Lu Ding walked towards a table at the side and sat down. Looking at the guard leader who was sitting on the ground, he sneered, in a while, even if I don't do anything to you, I'm afraid that the powerful person behind you will cut you into pieces. Chapter 1336. Quietly, he waited for the group of people to arrive. As for the surrounding people, Lin Ray's cold and emotionless eyes made them tremble. They wanted to leave, but when they saw Lin Ray's cold eyes, their legs went soft and they did not dare to move. They were afraid that if they moved, their lives would no longer be their own. You guys! Looking at the crowd, Lin Ray said, do you want me to ask you to leave, or do you want to leave by yourselves? When he said that, everyone was stunned for a moment. Then, they regained their senses and nodded. There were even some people who looked at Lin Ray with gratitude and bowed. Senior, we will leave. We will leave immediately. With that said, everyone rushed out of the door like a swarm of bees. At this moment, everyone was using all their strength. Even those aristocratic family members who had been drained of energy by the heat were using all their strength, afraid that Linley would go back on his word and kill them on the spot. Rumble. The ground started to shake because of everyone's escape. At this moment, no one was slow. In a blink of an eye, the entire Alchemy Guild's living room was empty. Only Lin Ray and that attendant were left. As for the remaining guards, they were all lying in a pool of blood. Scarlet blood was still flowing out from their bodies. The scene was very bloody. However, Lin Ray did not feel anything as he sat in the pool of blood. Instead, his bloodthirsty face made him look very eye-catching. Still not here. Within Linley's divine sense, that old man with the highest level of cultivation was walking at a leisurely pace. Suddenly, Linley frowned. Does this old fellow really think he's some sort of big shot? He was very disgusted with this kind of person who thought that he was invincible because of his seniority, especially when the other party's people offended him. It was even more heinous. However, for the remaining people, it was still okay. Their speed was quite fast. In his divine sense, the closest person to him was only a dozen meters away. Soon, Katja. The sound of the door opening was heard. Lin Ray turned his head and saw that the person closest to him had appeared. The person who walked out of the door was a woman, and it had to be said that she was a real beauty. However, even though his face was somewhat cold, his eyes did not show any contempt. On the contrary, he was looking at Lin Ray with great interest. It was as if he had developed a great interest in him. Seeing Lin Ray, the woman asked, "You are the intruder that demanded our alchemist guild's upper echelons to scram out?" Facing such a beautiful woman, it had to be said that Lin Ray still had some reaction. As the saying goes, a fair and graceful woman is a gentleman's dream. It would be abnormal if he didn't have any reaction. She nodded and replied, "That's right. This sovereign is the intruder who let you out." However, after saying that, Lin Ray paused for a moment. Then, with a serious expression, he corrected himself. This sovereign doesn't like intruders. Furthermore, this sovereign rarely comes here to buy spiritual herbs. It's your attendant who looks down on me and keeps on pressuring me. Unfortunately, this sovereign can only let you be the judge. After all, this sovereign is a person who travels the world with reason. After saying that, he glanced at the attendant who was paralyzed on the ground. His face was filled with killing intent. It was as if he wanted to kill the attendant at any moment. Amen? Seeing Lin Ray's actions, the woman's gaze swept over the attendant. The instant she saw him, she frowned. She remembered this attendant. He was a distant relative of a rank 5 alchemist. Lu Xian, a rank 5 alchemist. She was modest and kind. However, when it came to her distant relative, Fong Wenming, there was no such thing. Stealing chickens and touching dogs, a dog relying on its master's power. Thinking that his distant relative was Lu Xian, he did whatever he wanted in the Alchemist Guild. Regarding this, the upper echelons had also expressed their attitude. However, because of Lu Xian's status, in the end, they could only turn a blind eye to it. But now, she was unable to detect Linley's cultivation, and there was only one possibility for this, and that was that Linley's cultivation was far stronger than she had imagined, and it was strong enough to go against the entire Alchemist Guild in Huanghui City. Regarding this, looking at the corpses that were flowing with blood, he understood why the other party had used the word scram to express himself earlier. It wasn't that he was conceited, arrogant, or ignorant. On the contrary, it was confidence. Incomparably strong confidence. In his eyes, the entire Huanghui City's Alchemist Guild was like an ant. Thinking until here, the woman took a deep breath and walked towards Lin Ray. She bowed and said respectfully, "Junior Yuan Jun greets Senior." Looking at Yuan Jun's reaction, Lin Ray smiled. He felt that this name was very interesting. Yuan Jun's reinforcements. It meant that she was the other party's reinforcements. Thinking about it, he felt that it was funny. For a moment, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He felt that this woman in front of him was even more interesting. Moreover, he could sense from the medicinal fragrance that the old man gave off that he was a third-grade Emperor Pill refiner in the Saint's world. Her age wasn't very old. After checking, he found out that she was only a little over 1,300 years old. To be able to cultivate the alchemy Dao to such a level at such a young age, it could be seen that she was quite talented. Alchemist, the elixir you just refined is useless. So, take this elixir as your compensation. As he spoke, he took out a 9th grade Emperor Grade 6 Transformation Water Restoration Elixir and handed it to Yuan Jun. "Oh." She lowered her head and looked at the elixir bottle in front of her. To be honest, as an alchemist, she didn't think that the elixir he took out would be better than hers. However, out of courtesy and the other party's point of view, she reached out and took it. This water restoration elixir can help you recover quickly when you are injured. At the same time, it can also replenish your lost spiritual qi. "Oh, is that so?" Yuan Jun replied. She raised her hand and looked at the elixir bottle. Her heart throbbed inexplicably. "Do you want to take a look?" This voice kept ringing in her heart. She was curious about the elixir in the bottle in her hand. Moreover, Her heart ached when she thought of the elixir that was useless just now. The herbs in that cauldron of elixir were very precious. It took him almost 10 years to collect all of them. Now, they were all ruined by his voice. Thinking about it, she grabbed the bottle cap and used a little force to open it. Suddenly, a burst of elixir fragrance rushed out of the elixir bottle and filled the entire living room. This is, as an alchemist, her first reaction after smelling the elixir fragrance was shock. She could feel that the elixir in the elixir bottle contained a very terrifying amount of energy. She poured the elixir into her hand. Suddenly, a blue elixir the size of a longan lay quietly on her palm. On the blue elixir, 9 eye-catching patterns appeared. Elixir patterns. Looking at the water-returning pill, Yuan Jun cried out in surprise. The excitement in her eyes made Linley, who was standing by the side, feel helpless. Another alchemy lunatic. After saying that, he shook his head with a bitter smile and pushed her to the side. He knew that she wouldn't listen to anything he said now. Get out here. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. A violent aura burst out from Lin Rei's body and rushed to the back left. Boom! With a booming sound, the entire wall under Linley's berserk aura exploded apart. PFFF. A figure flew out from behind the wall. In the air, the middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood. Plop! The middle-aged man fell to the ground. Coincidentally, he fell right under Lin Rei's feet. Oh, I didn't expect that the people of the Alchemy Guild would be so sneaky. I really underestimated you. After saying that, he turned around and looked around. The corner of his mouth curled up. His bloodthirsty expression was obvious. Do you want me to invite you all out? Or do you all want to come out yourselves? At this moment, the higher-ups of the Alchemy Guild were all in different directions. The scene just now made them lose the will to come out. After seeing Wang Weisen's miserable state, they even wanted to leave this place. Their hearts were filled with fear towards Lin Rei. This was the first time they came into contact with someone with such strength. Just by relying on his violent aura, he was able to do this. Then what was his true strength? With a series of twigs, the surrounding doors opened, and one figure after another walked out from within, finally appearing in Linley's field of vision. Looking at the appearance of the crowd, the attendant was so shocked that he lost consciousness. What the hell is going on? They were all existences that he once admired. They were all high and mighty alchemists that could change the fate of others with just a move of their hands. This was different from the impression he had of alchemists. He always thought that in Huang Hui City, any one of the alchemists of the Alchemy Guild would be able to shake the heavens and earth. They were existences that all the aristocratic families would fight for. But now his thoughts were overturned. Overturned completely and straightforwardly. Since you're here, let's talk. How should we deal with this matter? Looking at the old man at the edge, he was the strongest existence here. Of course, that was only limited to Huang Hui City. Apart from him, looking at Lin Rei's gaze, the old man's heart trembled. The killing intent that flashed past his eyes earlier was perfectly hidden. Killing intent towards such a powerful existence? What a joke. As long as Lin Fan didn't kill him, he would be thankful. At this moment, the old man didn't ask for anything else. He only asked for his life. After all, it was impossible for him to give up the Alchemy Guild that he had worked so hard to develop for so many years just for an ant. Thinking about this, his gaze locked onto the attendant who was sitting on the ground. The old man's killing intent towards him rose. If it wasn't for him, the Alchemy Guild wouldn't be in such a state. As for them, they wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Thinking about this, the killing intent in his heart became even stronger. Not only him, the other alchemists were the same. When had they ever suffered such humiliation? As for all of this, it was all because of an attendant who was nothing. How could they possibly allow him to live happily? Ant-like thing actually managed to anger this powerful lord. In that case, you can go and die. After saying that, he took a step forward and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already before the attendant. In his hand, he aimed his sword at the attendant's 4 limbs. I'll break your 4 limbs so that you can experience the despair before death. Remember, in your next life, don't do such a foolish thing again. Otherwise, you'll die miserably. Poochie, Poochie. A sword ray flashed past. For streaks of blood appeared. The attendant's 4 limbs were all severed. His 4 limbs flew out and fell to the side. Scarlet blood sprayed out from the severed limbs. The scene was extremely bloody. Ah! A miserable and hysterical cry of pain sounded from the attendant's mouth. His body fell to the ground because his 4 limbs were severed. He was in a very miserable state. As for the alchemists who were his distant relatives, although they wanted to help, when they thought about how they had offended an expert because of this, they immediately suppressed their desire to save him. When they thought about how the medicinal pellets they concocted would be ruined because of this, their hatred for the attendant grew even more. As for this relative of his, it was only on the surface. As for the specifics, he didn't know either. If it wasn't for the attendant coming of his own accord, he wouldn't have known that such a person existed at all. Now that he was dead, all troubles were over. In the future, he would no longer have to lose face because of his matters. You will die miserably. Enduring the pain, the attendant with a malevolent demon-like appearance looked at Lin Ray and gnashed his teeth as he spoke. The ruthless killing intent in his eyes was not concealed at all. If a person's gaze could kill, then Lin Ray would have been killed by the attendant's killing intent dozens of times. Ant-like dog. You're about to die, yet you're still speaking such nonsense. The old man was dumbfounded. Seeing that the attendant was offending Lin Ray even more, he was unable to hold himself back anymore. He could not tolerate the attendant continuing to speak. Who knew if Lin Ray would take his anger out on the entire alchemy guild because of those words? Poochie *, with a flash of sword light. A thin and small wound appeared on the attendant's throat. The attendant's words came to an abrupt end. His eyes were fixed on a certain spot. His body was lying on the ground. His aura was scattered and his vitality was extinguished. He was dead. The attendant was dead. This matter would be left unsettled. Of course, Lin Ray didn't think so. After all, the Alchemy Guild had lost face today. Senior, this person will be dealt with. However, because this person is a member of the Alchemy Guild, it may not be so. Our guild will specially offer 100 muscle and bone strengthening pellets and 100 rank 6 spiritual herbs. How about it? This is too much. That's right. Putting aside the 100 muscle and bone strengthening pellets, 100 rank 6 spiritual herbs is too much. These rank 6 spiritual herbs aren't found anywhere. President, don't you think this is a bit too much? After all, these things belong to the Alchemy Guild. They have to hand it over to the Alchemy Guild for 100 years. Now, there's only half a year left until the deadline. Therefore, if they bring the Alchemy Guild's headquarters with them, the consequences are not something they can bear. Everyone sent their own messages to express their disapproval of the old man's actions. However, they didn't realize that Lin Ray didn't put the old man's words in his eyes at all. He might as well give something more practical to deal with these things. Looking at the old man's expectant eyes, Lin Ray smiled. Old man, it's not that I'm arrogant. Take a look at this thing. Then, tell me something else that will compensate me. As he spoke, he casually threw out a pill bottle. These few years, it was filled with something that couldn't be seen. It was a rank 9 venerable grade pellet. Yes, senior. The old man couldn't refuse. He took the pill bottle and opened it. The fragrance of the pill filled his mouth and nose. In an instant, he was stunned. His originally doubtful gaze turned into shock, excitement, and uncontrollable infatuation. This Junior is ashamed. Chapter 1337. How is it? Do you think that the things you gave me are enough? Or do you think that I need the things you mentioned? The old man was dumbfounded. If he didn't see this bottle of water-returning pills, he wouldn't have thought that it was embarrassing. However, it was different now. He saw the water-returning pill, and it was of such a high grade. He knew that he didn't have the ability to refine such a high-grade pill. Especially the pill patterns on the pill, it made him feel so ashamed that he wanted to die. Why would a person who could casually take out such a pill care about those lousy pills and 6-tier spiritual herbs? Hell, what a joke. Only a ghost would want that kind of trash. Thinking about the conditions that he used to expel the old man, he felt that it was ridiculous. If there was a hole in the ground, he would want to crawl into it. It was too embarrassing. Thinking about it, he raised his head and looked at Lin Ray. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior, I was rash just now." As he spoke, he placed the pill bottle in his hands into his bosom. "Senior, how about this? Tell me, what do you fancy in my alchemy guild? As long as you say it, this junior will definitely hand it over to you. Even if it's this junior's position as the alchemy guild's president, as long as you want it, this junior will willingly step down." "President, you can't." "That's right, President. If the higher-ups investigate this matter, we won't be able to bear the consequences." "President, please think twice. You have never been a reckless person. Why are you so muddle-headed today? Reconsider." When the surrounding alchemists heard the old man's words, they were unwilling and tried to stop him. They were all red in the face. Hearing the discussion, the old man was stunned. He glanced at the crowd and said, "All of you, shut up. Look at what you have become. What's wrong? Have I given you guys too much face that you've forgotten your surname and name? All of you are over 1,000 years old. In front of this senior, you have no right to speak." As he spoke, the president released his aura. It had to be said that he had a lot of authority as the president. When he roared, everyone fell silent. Their eyes darted around to avoid the old man's eyes, not daring to look him in the eye. "All right, all of you, don't give in to me at all. Hurry up and scram. Go back and reflect on your actions. Without my orders, none of you are allowed to come out. Do you understand?" Everyone's expression changed drastically, but no one dared to refute. They all nodded heavily. Understood, President." With that, he turned to leave. Even Yuan Jun, who had been addicted to the elixirs given by Lin Ray, was ready to leave. Seeing everyone turn around, Lin Ray frowned and said coldly, "Did I allow you to leave?" The moment these words came out, the old man's body trembled. Just now, he had been so focused on reprimanding that he had forgotten that Lin Ray was still here. When he thought of how powerful Lin Ray was, he broke out in a cold sweat. He bowed to Lin Ray and said, "Senior, Junior, didn't want a Yuan Jun stay. The rest of you can scram." Before the old man could finish his words, he interrupted him. Yuan Jun? Me? Her?" At this moment, whether it was the old man, Yuan Jun, or those arrogant alchemists, they were all stunned. "What's going on?" Yuan Jun was even more unaware. Her face was full of questions. "Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing?" "Say, Senior, Yuan Jun is still young. If she had offended you in any way, then Junior will apologize to you here." "Little June," she sighed. Hearing the old man's nagging voice, Lin Ray shook his head helplessly. What the F***CK was he thinking? Didn't I just want a maid to serve me temporarily? It's not like I want to do anything to her. Seriously. Besides, do I look like a bad person? Do I look like a hooligan? Causing trouble. Thinking of this, he looked up at Yuan Jun with a serious and clear expression. He said indifferently, "Yuan Jun, I'm going to the secluded valley to participate in the Dragon Spring secret realm. I need someone to take care of some trivial matters along the way. I wonder if you're willing to follow me." "Of course. As a reward for your efforts during this period, I have a 9 Dragons branch technique here. It's specifically for alchemy." In order to ensure Yuan Jun's agreement, Lin Ray could only do this. Although he wasn't sure if the secret technique of the Holy World would work here, he still had to try. Yuan Jun hesitated. There was no reason, just because Mother of Astra's Cur. In any case, this old lady is a real alchemist. "Is there anyone like you? What do you take this old lady for? A maid?" She couldn't help but think in her heart. However, she had an apologetic smile on her face. "I'm sorry. I have something important to do during this period, so it's not convenient for me to be in my original form. So, I'm sorry, Senior. I might." She didn't continue. Hearing this, Lin Ray obviously understood what she meant. Thus, he shook his head helplessly and could only let it go. "All right, since that's the case, I won't force you." As he spoke, his gaze landed on the old man again. He quickly said, "Today's matter, you can do as you see fit. I don't lack anything else, but I don't have much netherworld jade. You can get it to me as you see fit." After saying that, he turned around and walked out. When Lin Ray disappeared, his voice exploded in everyone's ears. "You can find where I live. Remember, I don't care about low-grade netherworld jade. All right? This time, I'm looking for a bloodline grass in your alchemy guild. If you have it, send it to me as per netherworld jade's wishes. If you don't have it, mobilize the entire alchemy guild. At the same time, inform your high-level alchemy guild that as long as you can help me find the bloodline grass, I promise to give you a 3rd grade Saint grade realm breaking pellet. Remember, time is limited. If you exceed the time limit, I don't need to tell you the consequences. You should know in your hearts." After saying that, his voice became formless. Put on. After confirming that Lin Ray had left, the old man couldn't hold on any longer and sat down on the ground. At this moment, he was no longer as calm as before. Instead, he was in a sorry state. "Do as you see fit. As for your big brother, just give me a random number. Do as you see fit. How do you want me to give you? If I give you too much, my heart will ache. If I give you too little, I'll suffer. What's the bloodline grass? Is it something special?" For a moment, the old man was worried. He never thought that a day like this would come. President, why don't we ask the higher-ups? Otherwise, do we really have to do as that person said? The middle-aged alchemist on the side saw the old man in such a state and stepped forward to voice his opinion. Report? He turned to look at the middle-aged alchemist. Suddenly, his face turned cold. "Didn't you see the other party's cultivation? I'm afraid that only the alchemy guild of a 1st grade city can come forward to solve this. Moreover, I'm not sure if I can do it. Then what should we do? Are we, the alchemy guild, really going to give that person the nether jade? Moreover," at this point, the middle-aged alchemist scratched his head awkwardly and continued, "We've never heard of the bloodline grass." Everyone, indeed as alchemists, they had never heard of the bloodline grass. "Forget it. We'll think of a way to deal with the nether jade ourselves. As for the bloodline grass, I'll write a letter to my good friends in a while and ask them to keep an eye out for it." As he spoke, his gaze swept across the alchemists around him. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. The bright expression in his eyes made everyone feel weak. President, if you have something to say, just say it. We're not used to you looking at us like this." The Origin Lord spoke up. "That's right, President. It's better if you act like usual. We're not used to you being like this." That's right. Everyone nodded in agreement. In response, the old man rolled his eyes and returned to normal. He stretched out his hand and said to everyone, "Come on, don't help us. You've all heard what that senior said just now. We don't want low-grade nether jade, and middle-grade nether jade is not suitable either." As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed and cursed in their hearts. Everyone knew what the old man was up to. However, they knew that it was not a wise move to make at this time. That president, what are you talking about? Didn't you agree to give us the nether jade? Moreover, we're just alchemists. How can we have high-grade nether jade? Yes, high-grade nether jade is very precious. How can we have it? Even if we had it, it would be used for our cultivation. That's right, President. Don't tell me you're going to do the same. You promised us before. Isn't it inappropriate for you to look for us now? How about this? We don't have high-grade nether jade, but we have 500,000 low-grade nether jade. What do you think? Every time they said a word, the old man's face would turn gloomy. Now, when he heard the words 500,000 low-grade nether jade, his face turned cold. If expressions could freeze people to death, then the old man's cold expression could freeze everyone present to death. Are you sure you don't have it? No. Everyone nodded with certainty. They could throw away their integrity, but they couldn't give them high-grade nether jade. Good. Looking at everyone, the old man nodded and said with a "you've done a good job" expression, "Since you're all like this, then I won't care about your feelings anymore." As he spoke, a bill suddenly appeared in his hand. He flipped it open and looked at the alchemist who said he didn't have it. He read, "Wang Pei, last year you used the materials of the Alchemist Guild to refine elixirs. In the end, you made a deal with the Wong clan in the imperial capital and obtained 100,000 high-grade nether jade. You handed over 16,000 high-grade nether jade to the Alchemist Guild, and the remaining 84,000 are missing. Last year, you made a deal with the Liu clan in the imperial capital of the Tinshui Empire and obtained 260,000 high-grade nether jade. You handed over 60,000 high-grade nether jade, and the remaining 200,000 are missing. 2 years ago, stop. President, I suddenly feel that you did the right thing. When the Alchemist Guild is in danger, it is time for us to help. I'll give it to you. As he spoke, he hesitated and took out a storage ring. He handed it to the old man and said, President, there are 500,000 high-grade nether jade in here. Oh, 500,000? Looking at the storage ring, the old man narrowed his eyes. Looking at the old man's face, the alchemist wanted to cry. 500,000 high-grade nether jade, but it was still not enough. His heart was filled with bitterness, but he squeezed out an extremely ugly smile. He took out another storage ring and said, President, this is the last of my savings. It adds up to 1 million high-grade nether jade. It's really the last of my savings. As he spoke, the alchemist didn't forget to wipe off 2 drops of tears. Looking at the 2 storage rings in his hand, the old man nodded with satisfaction. That's enough. Although I know you have more than this 1 million. And it's almost enough. Hearing this, the alchemist burst into tears. While crying, he thanked the old man profusely. Thank you, President. Thank you for showing mercy. As he spoke, he retreated to the side and felt sad. The old man put away the 2 storage rings and looked at the account book in his hand again. When he saw the words Yuan Jun on the account book, the old man smiled. Haha, Yuan Jun, I didn't expect you to have a share in this. This. Looking at the old man, Yuan Jun lowered her head awkwardly, not daring to look at the old man's eyes. How is it? Do you want me to read it out for you? Although you don't have as much as before, but... As he spoke, he flipped 2 pages and continued. It doesn't seem to be much different. No need, President. Seeing the old man like this, Yuan Jun didn't dare to let him continue. She reached out and took out a storage ring from her clothes. Handing it to the old man, she said, President, there are 1 million high-grade nether jade in this ring. Seeing that Yuan Jun was so nimble, the old man didn't continue. His face flashed with a teachable expression. Not bad. As he spoke, he closed the account book in his hand and glanced at the people around him. How about it? Do you want me to read it out for you one by one? Or do you want to hand over the nether jade obediently? As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. They smiled bitterly and shook their heads. It seems like we can't escape this round. As soon as he said this, everyone nodded in agreement. They walked up to the old man, took out their storage rings, and handed them to him. Of course, there was an exception among the dozen people. A young man walked up to the old man and took out a storage bag. I don't have that much. There are 100,000 high-grade nether jade, 1 million mid-grade nether jade, and 3 million low-grade nether jade. Although I don't have as much high-grade nether jade as they do, I only have this much. As he spoke, he didn't care about the old man's strange figure. He retreated to a corner and didn't say anything. This kid, looking at Wang Bingrun, the old man smiled bitterly. Perhaps others had done corrupt things, but Wang Bingrun had been refined in the mud. He was pure and flawless, and had not been infected by the filth of the mortal world. Imagining Wang Bingrun's situation, the old man smiled and nodded. All right, I know you don't have that much. This should be enough. As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned. They turned to look at Wang Bingrun. Although they were unhappy, there was nothing they could do. After all, Wang Bingrun hadn't done anything dirty like them. That's enough. Seeing everyone looking at each other, the old man shook his head helplessly. This matter ends here. As for this account book, this old man will automatically destroy it when the time comes. However, in the future, do your job well and don't do such things again. Otherwise, this old man will cripple all of you. Chapter 1338. Yes, we will. We understand. Looking at everyone's fearful expression, the old man smiled and nodded. He waved his hand and said, "All right, there's nothing for you to do here. Since that's the case, we will take our leave first." After saying that, they bowed to the old man and turned around to leave. The old man did not stop them from leaving. Just when Yuan Jun and the others were about to disappear from the hall, the old man suddenly thought of something. "Oh, right. You should cultivate well during this period of time. After a while, it will be the alchemy exchange that happens once every 30 years. At that time, if you can win against the unions of other cities, then our union will get a lot of cultivation resources." Speaking of this, the old man squinted his eyes and said with a faint smile, "I believe that you should know what those resources mean even if I don't tell you." As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed. How could they not know that in the past, there was once an alchemist union of a ninth-grade city? Because they won the championship of the alchemist exchange, they got a lot of cultivation resources. In the end, their union was promoted to an eighth-grade city. After that, their future was unstoppable. Until now, it seemed that they had already reached the sixth grade. Although there was a gap of 3 grades between the sixth grade and the ninth grade, the gap between these 3 grades was like heaven and earth. If the sixth grade alchemist union got 10 resources every year, then the ninth grade alchemist union would only get 3 resources every year. Therefore, they attached great importance to the championship of this alchemist exchange. This was not only an opportunity for the union to be promoted, but also an affirmation of their future. They might be fancied by a master of the alchemist union and get a chance to learn from him in the end. Everyone nodded solemnly. After bowing to the old man, they turned around and left. This time, they would probably go into seclusion and not come out. As for the daily medicinal pills of the alchemist union, they would teach them to their disciples. As for the rest, they only needed to cultivate. Looking at the back of everyone leaving, a smile appeared on the old man's face. However, behind the smile, there was helplessness. It's not that easy to win the championship of the alchemist exchange. It's not just the ninth grade cities around us. This time, there are alchemists from other continents. Thinking of the notice given by the higher-ups, it seems that the young genius of Yu Province's Nye City, Nye Yunxing, is also coming. When he thought of Nye Yunxing and all the other alchemists in the Alchemist Guild, he could only shake his head helplessly. The gap between the two wasn't small. It was a huge gap. Forget it. I'll be at the bottom every year anyway. Thinking about his experience in the past, he shrugged helplessly and consoled himself. Alas, he sighed as he looked at the dozen or so storage rings in his hand, and his helpless expression disappeared, replaced by one of joy. At the very least, this matter has been resolved. As for that bloodline grass, we'll talk about it when we find it. As he thought of this, the pressure in his heart disappeared. He packed up and headed to his room. Due to the small incident today, the Apothecary Guild did not continue with its business. Instead, it chose to close its doors. As for the onlookers at the Alchemist Guild today, the old man wasn't worried at all. When they left, he sent people out to coerce and bribe those onlookers. In the end, he made them swear a Tao orthodoxy blood oath. Only then did he feel relieved. Otherwise, if today's matter were to spread out, his Alchemist Guild would have no place in Huanghui City in the future. As for the instigator of this matter, Lin Rei, he was currently strolling on the streets. Thinking of his actions just now, he felt that it was hilarious. I didn't expect that this overlord would get angry over such a small matter. Although that was what he said, the smile on his face was enough to tell that this fellow did not regret his actions at all. In fact, he was very happy. Faced with Lin Rei's incomparable words, in the end, the system couldn't recognize him and stepped forward to ridicule him. As the host system, this system feels extremely humiliated. Lin Rei, he didn't say anything. He believed that if he were to say anything, the system would definitely continue to criticize him until he started doubting his life. However, Lin Rei was a loss for words. Even if he didn't say anything, the system still didn't have the intention to stop. Host, tell me, is there need to go to such lengths for such a small benefit? Coercion and bribe, you're really good at it? Others might not know, But the system was very clear about the reason why Lin Ray got angry earlier. Yes, perhaps he was really angry. However, that was only a part of it. Among the reason why he got angry, a part of it was because of the Nether Jade. After all, the Nether Jade was extremely precious. At the very least, that was how Lin Ray felt. If he had known earlier, a drop of Zhu's blood essence was enough to buy a small Nether Jade mine. He really wanted to see what kind of energy a pile of high-grade Nether Jade mine would contain. More importantly, he wanted to use the Nether Jade mine to exchange for points so that he could repay the money he owed the system in the future. Hearing the system's incessant nagging, Lin Ray couldn't bear to listen to it anymore. He rolled his eyes and said angrily, "That's enough. Stop nagging like a sissy. It's because I have no other choice." At this moment, Lin Ray transformed into a resentful woman and began to voice out the complaints that had been in his heart for a long time to the system. "System, you can speak. As the owner of the system, I don't have the authority to say anything about this matter. Let's talk about the lottery." "Lottery? What's wrong with the lottery? Is there a problem?" The system was stunned. It was a little confused by Lin Ray's words that came out of nowhere. "Nonsense, of course there is." Lin Ray began to operate the system. "Think about it. How long has it been since I last had the chance to draw a lottery? You also said that you want me to increase my cultivation, but you didn't even give me the chance to draw a lottery. Tell me, what do you want me to do? I don't even have the privilege to buy things, and I still owe you more than 500 million points. Tell me." The more Lin Ray spoke, the more he felt that he had been cheated. How is this a F** king cheat? It was obviously a F** king ancestor, all right? However, after the system heard this, it fell silent. Although Lin Ray's words were a little unreasonable, it was the truth. The lottery system had indeed stopped operating for too long. Moreover, some of the usual missions hadn't been issued. Other than some main missions, side missions, and special triggered missions seemed to have appeared very rarely. In fact, some of them had never appeared at all. What's wrong? Do you think that this sovereign is right? Seeing that the system didn't say anything, Lin Ray continued happily. Just like this, he walked and complained. In the blink of an hour had passed. Perhaps Lin Ray was tired and thirsty. He finally stopped. "So, system, hurry up and check what's going on. I don't want to be cheated until the day my cultivation path ends. It's very tiring." Sensing the concentration of spiritual energy within, Zhang Xian realized that it was at least 4 to 5 times stronger than the outside world. For a moment, his disdain for the small shop before him was replaced with wariness. If the system said that it was good, then it was naturally good. The fact that the star swordgrass could appear in this shop was even more proof of the shop's background. "Yo, little brother, what do you want to buy from my Rueda's spiritual medicine shop?" Just as Lin Ray was sizing up the entire store, a young man's voice sounded from the front. Young man?" This voice was very attractive and magnetic. Moreover, from the voice, Zhang Xian could tell that the other party was a young man. Moreover, his cultivation was not bad. Star Ancestor Realm cultivation. TSK, not bad. Experts are indeed among the common people. I didn't expect that a small pharmacy would not only have the star swordgrass, but also have the strength of a star ancestor. Zhang Xian thought to himself, but his face remained expressionless as he cupped his hands. "Sir, are you the owner of Rueda's spiritual medicine shop?" Zhang Xian asked with uncertainty. Hearing this, the young man kept a smile on his face and nodded. "That's right. I am Yi Xiang. Rueda is mine. May I know what this customer is looking for?" Looking at Yi Xiang, Lin Ray had good intentions. After all, this little shop owner was not like the others who said that the things here were the best. Zhang Xian glanced at the young man and scanned the shop. Finally, his gaze fixed on the potted plant behind the young man. Vigorous, sword intent. Is this the star swordgrass? Looking at the potted plant, Lin Ray guessed. Naturally, Yi Xiang could sense Linley's gaze. Seeing Linley so passionate about his starlight swordgrass, he couldn't help but feel a bit amused. Right now, He understood that the reason Linley had come here was most likely for the sake of his stellar swordgrass. Little shop owner, I don't want anything else here. Give me that thing. You can name the price. Zhang Xian said while pointing at the star swordgrass. As expected, hearing Lin Rei's words, Yi Xiong confirmed his thoughts. With the same smile on his face, he shook his head and rejected Lin Rei's offer. I'm sorry. I can sell you everything here except for this star swordgrass. Hearing this, Lin Rei was startled. He looked at Yi Xiong with interest and asked why. Little shop owner is also a businessman. Shouldn't profit be the first thing to consider when doing business? Now, such a good opportunity is in front of you. As long as you name the price, I will definitely give it to you. Why do you choose not to? Indeed, this was the point that Lin Rei was puzzled. After all, a businessman would choose not to give up in front of such benefits. This puzzled him. Moreover, he could feel that the young man did not have the slightest sword intent. Therefore, he eliminated the possibility that the young man needed to strengthen his sword intent. No reason. It's just that this potted plant is useful to me. As for its use, I don't think I need tell you. You said that a businessman should prioritize profit. Indeed, you are right. Unfortunately, you missed something. What is it? Lin Rei asked. Looking at Lin Rei, he tapped his finger on the counter in front of him and said indifferently, Although I'm in a shop, I'm not a businessman. Hearing this, Lin Rei understood. However, Lin Rei did not want to give up on the star swordgrass. After all, it was useful to him. Thinking of this, his gaze fell on the star swordgrass. Thinking of his sword core, his heart inexplicably throbbed. His desire to obtain the star swordgrass grew even stronger. Little shop owner, look, your star swordgrass is just sitting there. Why don't we work together? Since he couldn't buy it, taking it by force was not his style. Working together like this was the most appropriate method. Hearing this, Yi Xiong's interest was also piqued. Tell me, what kind of cooperation? Of course, I'm just listening. I don't plan on cooperating with you. Of course, Lin Rei did not insist. However, he believed that if Yi Xiong really wanted to use the star swordgrass, there were only two choices. One was to use it for himself, and the other was to give it to someone else so that they could improve their sword Dao. Give me the star swordgrass. After I refine it into a sword core, I only need two. The rest of the sword core can be given to you. Then, as if he had forgotten something, he quickly added, a sword core is a kind of pill that can improve one's sword Dao. Of course, it can also allow someone who isn't a sword cultivator to quickly become a sword cultivator and possess sword intent. Chapter 1340. Sword Core. Hearing this unfamiliar medicinal pill, Yi Xiong had a hesitant expression. He'd heard of other medicinal pills, and the only medicinal pill he knew could be refined from the stellar swordgrass was the Grand Space pill. Moreover, its medicinal properties weren't much better than the effects of the sword pill, but the Grand Space pill wasn't a pill that could directly increase the user's sword intent. Instead, it could grant the user the aptitude to cultivate the sword Dao. As for the sword pill that Linley spoke of, which could directly increase the efficacy of one's sword intent, he had never heard of it before. Looking at the doubt in Yi Xiong's eyes, Lin Rei suddenly understood that Yi Xiong didn't know about the sword core. After all, they weren't in the Holy World. Moreover, even if they were in the Holy World, there was no guarantee that the Alchemy Union would know about the existence of the sword core. After all, the sword core came from the system. As the saying goes, anything produced by the system must be of high quality. He believed that the pill formula given by the system must have been modified, or even a pill formula from a higher cultivation civilization. Understanding Yi Xiong's thoughts, Lin Rei relaxed. After all, it wasn't that Yi Xiong didn't agree, but that he didn't know about the sword core and its effects. Thinking, how about this? As he spoke, he poured his spiritual sense into his storage ring and picked out two second-grade, Saint-grade weapons. One was the Heavenly Water Fan, and the other was the Absolute Tyrant Spear. He handed them to Yi Xiong and continued. These two weapons are top-notch existences. I believe that even in the netherworld, there aren't many of them. Seeing that Yi Xiong didn't take them, He directly stuffed them into Yi Xiang's hands and continued, I use these two weapons as treasures. Everything that the narrator said is true. If there are even a few words of lies in your words, be careful that your heart demon will devour your body and your cultivation will be exhausted. How about it? As he spoke, he stared at Yi Xiang as if he wanted to see something from Yi Xiang's eyes. At this moment, Yi Xiang was indeed hesitating. Facing the two weapons in his hands, he could feel the dense killing intent and intimidating pressure coming from them. However, with the stellar swordgrass existence, he couldn't take the slightest risk. After all, this was his last chance. Yi Xiang did not give a decision for a long time. Lin Rei's heart tightened. He was also speechless to the extreme towards Yi Xiang's hesitation. Little boss, tell me your conditions. As long as you let me refine the sword pill, I will agree to any other conditions. Cultivation methods, battle techniques, spells, array Dao, alchemy Dao, talisman Dao, tools Dao, as long as you want it, I can give it to you. At this moment, Lin Rei could be said to have given everything he had just to be able to obtain the star sword grasp behind Yi Xiang. That thing, after passing through this village, it was not certain if there would be a shop for it. Therefore, he did not dare to take the risk. After all, the system said that he had to get it. Therefore, he had to get it even if he had to give it his all. Sure enough, when Yi Xiang heard Lin Rei's words, the hesitation in his eyes disappeared. How is it? What kind do you want? As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xiang with blazing eyes, as if he was a piece of delicious luncheon meat, making people unable to stop looking at him. Yi Xiang opened his mouth, raised his head to look at Lin Rei, and said resolutely, It's not impossible for me to give you the star sword grasp, but say it, say it. Lin Rei urged. He was extremely excited. Seeing Lin Rei so excited, he licked his brows, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He continued, Protect me. I want to go to the Central Continent to participate in the Central Continent Sword Sect's entrance examination. As for the sword pill you mentioned, I hope to be able to refine it within this period of time. Oh, Lin Rei was slightly hesitant. Although he did not know where the Central Continent was, refining the sword pill was not only possible with the star sword grass. It also needed to gather heavenly treasures of the same level. As such, it was not wise to rashly agree to the other party's request, especially the content of the oath just now. If it was really so, then of course, although he knew that he was not controlled by the Tendo and the Great Tao, who would want to bear the infamy of being a shameless villain for his entire life. Ding. Side mission. Accept Yi Xiang's request and protect him to the Central Continent so that he can successfully become a disciple of the Sword Sect. Mission reward. Star's Sword Technique. 30 million exchange points. F*CK. Hearing the sudden mission issued by the system, Lin Rei cursed without any culture. It was not that he wanted to, but that he had no choice but to do so. Originally, he still had the leeway to refuse, but now, not to mention leeway, he had nothing left. He could only rush forward with his hot-bloodedness. After all, it was not easy for a mission to come, and the mission reward was so generous. Now, Lin Rei was short of money. Although 30 million exchange points was only a drop in the bucket for the repayment of 500 million, but it was better than nothing. It was better than nothing. Thinking about it, he felt a little better. Nodding, he responded to the system and said, Accept the mission. Ding! Congratulations to the host for accepting the mission. I hope the host can exceed the quota. If so, the system will give a reward that exceeds the reward. Hearing this, Lin Rei's eyes shone with green light. At this moment, he was very sensitive to the reward. However, what the hell was a special reward? Hey, system, what's the special reward you're talking about? Okay. The system used silence to represent its thoughts and will. Regarding this, Lin Rei was speechless. Okay, since that's the case, then. Exiting the system, he looked at Yi Xiang with a smile and said, Okay, I promise you. I promise to accompany you to the Central State Sword Sect. I will guarantee your safety on the way and help you enter the Sword Sect. Hearing this, Yi Xiang smiled. He was not a wishy-washy person. Seeing that Lin Rei had agreed to his request, he casually took the two weapons in Lin Rei's hands and revealed a satisfied expression. So, shouldn't you give the Star Sword Grass to me? Seeing that Yi Xiong did not move, Lin Rei said anxiously, Oh, okay, right now. When she came back to her senses, she hurriedly handed the potted plant over to Lin Li. Her expression was full of reluctance. When he first established the Reda Spiritual Medicine Workshop, he wanted to use the spirit energy here to nurture the Star Sword Grass. Now, 100 years had passed, and the Star Sword Grass had to be given away. How could he be willing to part with it? Lin Rei naturally saw the reluctance in Yi Xiong's eyes and felt an inexplicable sense of sympathy. However, when he thought about what he had done, his sympathy instantly disappeared. He reached out and snatched the Star Sword Grass from Yi Xiong's hands. Don't worry, I will naturally keep my promise. However, you must follow me during this period of time. During this period of time, I will collect the spirit herbs needed to refine the sword pill and prepare to refine it. And as he spoke, his originally smiling face revealed a trace of worry. If he had encountered the Star Sword Grass earlier, he might not have agreed to Wu You's invitation to go to the valley to observe the ceremony. Chapter 1341. Previously, I promised the forgotten sorrow of the secluded valley that I would go to the secluded valley to observe the opening ceremony of the Dragon Spring Secret Realm. Therefore, before going to the Central Plains, you must first accompany me to the secluded valley. Of course, as he spoke, the corners of his mouth rose and a smile flashed. He continued, I won't let you accompany me for nothing. During this period of time, I will teach you a sword technique. You? Sword technique? Yi Xiong looked at Lin Rei with a strange expression. In the entire underworld, the sword sect was the most famous sect in the way of the sword. As for the sword technique that Lin Rei mentioned, it was obvious that he looked down on it from the bottom of his heart. What the F***CK? What? In the world, only the sword sect is allowed to know the way of the sword. Only the sword sect's way of the sword is allowed to be victorious. Only the sword sect's sword technique is allowed to be powerful. For a moment, Lin Rei was furious. Back in the sect, those who could be taught sword techniques by him were lined up from the Xuanzong sect's secret realm to the entrance of the Xuanzong sect. Although the myriad sword technique was not a high-grade technique, its power was not to be underestimated. When he fully unleashed the myriad sword technique, a gigantic sword would appear. Even when he fought against a Tao fruit saint or an early earth sage in the holy world, it would not lose out to him. Now, he did not expect to be discriminated against by a small cultivator in the underworld. How could he tolerate this? As he thought about it, he became angrier. He reached out and grabbed Yi Xiong's collar. Then, with a wave of his hand, a spatial crack appeared. Lin Rei rushed in with Yi Xiong. In the sky above a mountain range 100 miles away from Huanghui City, spiritual energy suddenly gathered. Then, a spatial crack appeared. Lin Rei and Yi Xiong, who had disappeared from the Reda Spiritual Medicine Clinic, walked out of the crack. At this moment, Yi Xiong, who was held in Lin Rei's hand, was dumbfounded. His eyes were wide open as he stared in front of him. His gaze was filled with shock. The scene of Lin Rei tearing space was too shocking. It could be said to be an existence that destroyed 3 views. Even experts in the crepe myrtle realm had not reached the level of tearing space. However, the young man in front of him had done it. If that was the case, how powerful was his cultivation? Lin Rei didn't care about it at all. At this moment, he only wanted to prove to this little boss that his sword technique was absolutely not inferior to the sword sect's. At that thought, he tossed the young man aside. Thanks to Lin Rei's Holy Spirit Qi, the young man didn't fall to the ground. Moreover, after becoming a spiritual grandmaster, the young man was able to fly at low altitudes for a short period of time. So, Lin Rei's gaze was unkind as he looked at Little Boss. He snorted coldly and said, "Stinking brat, watch carefully. Is the sword sect in your heart stronger, or is my sword technique stronger?" Without waiting for little boss Yi Xiang's reply, a second-grade Saint-grade longsword appeared in his hand. Suddenly, the sword intent hidden in his body was activated. Boom! The originally clear and boundless sky was suddenly covered by dark clouds. The sun in the horizon was also covered by the dark clouds. What's going on? Yi Xiang, who was awakened by the strange phenomenon, raised his head to look at the dark clouds in the sky. He was surrounded by vigorous sword intent. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. He lowered his head and looked at the source of the sword intent. He saw Lin Rei bathing in the soaring sword intent. The 1-meter-long sword in his hand moved. Stinking brat, watch carefully. This is my sword technique, the innumerable swords technique. With that, he waved his sword. It was simple, without any fancy movements. The sword slid through the air, following the innumerable swords technique's trajectory. The first move of the innumerable swords technique. One sword breaks all techniques. Suddenly, the 3-foot-long cold light flashed out, and Linley's entire body was filled with sword energy. One illusory sword after another, similar to the long sword in Linley's hand, appeared in a dense cluster around Linley's body. Watch carefully. The first move may be simple, but it's unstoppable and unstoppable. With that, as if he was intentionally reminding Yi Xiang, he suddenly swung his sword at the mountain below. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, the rain-like sword shadows rushed towards the mountain. The speed was so fast that it made people speechless. This speed, from Yi Xiang's point of view, he didn't even know when the densely packed illusions disappeared. He only heard a rumbling sound from below. Immediately, the rumbling sound appeared. Suddenly, the sky was filled with dust, as if it was going to cover the entire mountain. Illo, 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 in the mountain, when the wild beasts and vicious beasts felt the terrifying sword chi, and even the pressure and the tremors of the earth, they began the most terrifying escape of their lives. Hiss! Looking at the various phenomena below, Yi Xiang couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His face was gradually filled with shock. His eyes were wide open, and his entire person seemed to have entered a different state. I won't scare you to death. Looking at Yi Xiang's current appearance, he felt so good that he wanted to die. Imagining Yi Xiang's disdainful look before, he felt even better. The second move of the myriad sword arts, Skybreak. Although he felt good in his heart, Lin Rei didn't have the intention to stop. He used the second move of the myriad sword arts. Suddenly, an even more powerful sword chi appeared, and a terrifying pressure instantly pressed down on Yi Xiang's body. If it wasn't for Lin Rei's Holy Spirit chi, the current Yi Xiang would have been suppressed to death by Lin Rei's pressure. Go! The long sword was waved, and the sword chi in the sky received the order. It was directed at the same place below. Rumble, rumble, rumble once again. The earth trembled, and the originally inconspicuous smoke and dust in the sky became even denser. Looking at the scene before him, Lin Rei didn't continue. Although he wasn't under the control of the Tendo and the Great Tao, it wasn't impossible for the Tendo and the Great Tao to suppress him if he acted recklessly. Moreover, Lin Rei felt that his knowledge of the underworld wasn't enough, especially the existence of the sealer. He didn't want his strength to be detected by such a cultivator. If that was the case, he believed that he would be treated as an outsider and suppressed in the same way as he suppressed you. If that was the case, who could he reason with? At that time, even if the system took action, there wouldn't be much left of him. When he thought of this, the sword intent which had filled the heavens and the earth instantly retracted, as did his cultivation base. In the sky, the dark clouds which had filled the air slowly dissipated as Linley retracted his cultivation base and sword intent. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Rumble, rumble, rumble suddenly. A series of rumbling sounds could be heard from below. Linley lowered his head to look, only to see a horde of beasts charging towards a safe area, far away from where Linley was. They were afraid that if they weren't careful, they would be implicated. Therefore, they could only choose to move their entire clan. Looking at the fleeing figures below, Lin Ray sighed helplessly and shook his head. I didn't expect to bring them such trouble. Chapter 1342. He felt extremely guilty, but it was survival of the fittest. The strong were respected, and the fittest survived. There was nothing he could do about it. The rules were like that. Lin Ray didn't continue. He turned his head to look at Yi Xiong and said, "All right, don't just stand there. It's time to go back." As he spoke, he waved his sleeve towards the space in front of him. Suddenly, a spatial crack that was as big as his height appeared. He stretched out his hand, and his palm turned into a claw. A terrifying suction force appeared. For a moment, Yi Xiong's body uncontrollably returned to the state he was in before. Lin Ray grabbed him by the collar and stepped into the spatial crack. In the next moment, a spatial crack appeared in the same position as before in Rueda's spiritual medicine clinic. Lin Ray and Yi Xiong reappeared. "Now, you know how powerful I am, right?" As he spoke, he sat down. With a casual wave of his hand, a cup of tea floated and landed in Lin Ray's hand. He drank it in one gulp and spoke with a proud expression. He turned around and came back to his senses. At this moment, he had a deep understanding of Lin Ray's strength. He was absolutely powerful, especially the spatial crack just now. It was the first time he had heard of such a method. Even the sword sect might not have someone who could do it. Moreover, the sword technique Lin Ray used before was even more powerful. The way he used 10,000 swords had truly caused his entire body to tremble. Wasn't that the way of the sword he wanted? With a plop, before Lin Ray could react, Yi Xiong directly knelt down with a sincere expression. He cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Senior, please accept a bow from me." "What were you doing?" Yi Xiong's sudden arrival made Lin Ray a little unable to bear it. He felt flattered, especially when compared to his previous attitude and expression. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. "Master, I made up my mind. I won't go to the sword sect. I want to acknowledge you as my master." As he spoke, he repeatedly addressed Linley as master and didn't stop kowtowing to Linley. It was as though Linley was already his master. However, at this moment, Lin Ray was dumbfounded. What the F***CK is going on? Earlier, he'd merely wanted to prove that his sword Dao wasn't inferior to the sword sect, and he'd never thought of taking a disciple. Furthermore, to be honest, this Yi Xiong's aptitude was a bit lacking. Although his standards for accepting disciples did not look at this, but regarding Yi Xiong's temperament, he could not stand it. Moreover, this was the underworld. He would have to leave this place sooner or later. If he brought it back to the saints' world, just the conversion of spiritual qi would be difficult. After all, although the underworld qi here was similar to the Holy Spirit qi in the saints' world, it was still different. More importantly, this guy had looked down on Lin Ray several times just now. Of course, all of this could be said to be an excuse. The reason Lin Ray didn't want to take Yi Xiong as his disciple was really because he wanted to send Yi Xiong to the sword sect so that Yi Xiong could complete his assignment. At that time, the bridge would be the bridge and the road would be the road. From then on, the Jianghu would forget about each other, and they would not owe each other anything. Many things and thoughts flashed through his mind. In the end, he looked at Yi Xiong with a serious expression and said cautiously, "Yi Xiong, this matter isn't as simple as you think. Follow your heart. The sword sect that you yearn for will be realized very soon. You must not waver your heart here." As he spoke, he turned around and didn't say anything else. He didn't want to continue. Otherwise, if Yi Xiong said something even more outrageous, it would be embarrassing for everyone. With a single step, his body appeared tens of meters away. Then, with another step, he'd completely disappeared from Yi Xiong's line of sight. Yi Xiong sighed with a slightly dejected expression as he watched Lin Ray leave. "Remember, I'll call you when I leave. At that time, I hope that you'll be able to understand the matters that you haven't settled during this period of time. Perhaps it'll be too late to meet them again and again." Just when Yi Xiong was feeling extremely dejected, Lin Ray's voice suddenly sounded by his ear. Suddenly, his originally dejected figure disappeared. "Although I wasn't able to take you as my master, I believe that your things will definitely benefit me greatly during this period of time on the road. Thinking about it, even though he still felt a little disappointed, he felt much better than before. On the street outside, Lin Ray spoke. He heaved a sigh of relief, and a smile flashed across his face. I didn't expect that with just a little move, it would make a young man so infatuated that he'd give up his dream of becoming the Sword Sect and turn around to become his disciple. Imagining Yi Xiang's serious expression just now, Lin Ray smiled bitterly. We're in the Netherworld now. If we were in the Holy World, it would probably be even worse. After imagining it, he shook his head and threw those things to the back of his mind. Then, his relaxed mood returned. When he looked at the things around him, he didn't feel as depressed as before. Huanghui City is just like this. Although I've obtained the Starry Sword Grass by chance, it's very difficult for me to obtain a heavenly treasure that complements the Starry Sword Grass in Huanghui City. If I want to refine pills, I still need to go to some high-grade cities and get the help of the Alchemist Union and the Treasure Hunter Union. Otherwise, I really don't know when the sword pill will be refined. Thinking of what he promised Yi Xiang, he felt a headache. His originally relaxed mood instantly became very bad. System, tell me, what kind of cities in the Netherworld have the remaining heavenly treasures? 8th grade? 7th grade? 4th, 5th, and 3rd grade cities? If I haven't refined them before Yi Xiang enters the Sword Sect, then the mission will be 3rd rank. The system opened its mouth and reminded him in a neutral tone. 3rd grade? Hearing this, Lin Ray frowned. His face was filled with coldness. In the Netherworld, the division of regions was very clear. The overall strength of a 3rd grade city was very strong. There were many clans and forces in it. It was very complicated. I've already said very little about 3rd grade cities. If you want to believe me, a 1st grade city will be the best choice. After all, the most outstanding people in the Netherworld are gathered there. Lin Ray was speechless. Lin Ray didn't want to talk anymore. If he wanted to go to a 1st grade city, he would have gone there long ago. Entering the Netherworld was just a coincidence. As for a 1st grade city, if he didn't protect Yi Xiang when he entered the Sword Sect, he probably wouldn't have gone to a high-grade city with Yi Xiang. The system suggests that we take it one step at a time. Who knows, we might be able to collect all the heavenly treasures needed to refine the sword pill as we walk. Look, isn't the Star Sword Grass here today? I was just casually walking around, and I encountered this kind of thing. Should I say that the host's luck is good, or that the system's luck is great? You're really shameless. Lin Ray had already accepted the system's suggestion in his heart. Moreover, he also planned to do so. He would take one step at a time, push the boat with the current, and leave it to fate. Chapter 1343. After Lin Ray ended his conversation with the system, he walked around the streets and casually bought some interesting items. Then, he returned to the restaurant. Lin Ray returned to the entrance of the restaurant and scanned the entire restaurant with his consciousness. Suddenly, he was startled and a complicated expression appeared on his face. Within Linley's divine sense, Zhu was seated at the dining table, earnestly saying something to a young man. What puzzled Linley was that this young man was none other than Yi Xiang, whom he had parted from not too long ago. Damn, why is this little guy here? Furthermore, naturally, he would not think that Zhu and Yi Xiang knew each other. After all, he had just rescued Zhu. If that was not the case, the actions of those two would inevitably cause others to be puzzled. As for the Scarlet Flaming Tiger, Yi Xiang was sitting at another table and eating the food in front of him. In the end, the Scarlet Flaming Tiger's intelligence was only that of an 8 or 9-year-old. At the very most, it would not exceed the intelligence of an 11-year-old. Naturally, it was very fond of food. Furthermore, the food on the table was all infused with nether chi. There was no need to think about it to know that they were all delicacies made from the flesh and blood of demonic beasts. When he saw this scene, Lin Ray shook his head helplessly. He took a step forward and instantly appeared before Zhu and Yi Xiang. Brother Lei, you're back. The Scarlet Flaming Tiger, who was eating, suddenly sniffed. a familiar scent appeared. It was a scent that it was very familiar with. When it turned around, it saw Lin Rei's figure. It casually threw the food in its hand to the ground and arrived before Lin Rei in a flash. Then it smiled and said happily. Zhu and Yixiang had naturally sensed it as well. However, when they saw Lin Rei's arrival and Zhu and the Scarlet Flaming Tiger's attitude, they were dumbfounded. What? So these people knew each other? This was the only thing that Yixiang wanted to know. Speaking of which, this was how fate worked. Just a moment ago, Lin Rei had rejected Yixiang's request to become his disciple. However, in the next moment, everything had gone beyond his expectations. Little tiger, look at you. Look at how you're eating. Don't you know how to be more reserved? If you act like this, will that beauty still like you in the future? As he spoke, he continued. Could it be that our little tiger wants to be single for the rest of his life? Zhu turned to look at Lin Rei with interest. After being together for so long, this was the first time she had seen such an interesting side to Lin Rei. Brother Lei, I'm not eating anymore. I'm going to wash up. As soon as he finished speaking, the Scarlet Flaming Tiger was nowhere to be seen. Lin Rei didn't mind it and waved his hand at the waiter, who was waiting in the distance. Clean up this table, calculate the price, and merge it with this table. Without waiting for the waiter to respond, Lin Rei sat down and stared at the two of them. He seemed to be sizing them up, trying to see the subtle relationship between them. He could feel that Zhu was looking at Yixiang with a burning gaze, as if he was a prey that had been waiting for 10 days, waiting for the other party to lose focus at any time. The three of them didn't speak. Each of them had their own thoughts. The atmosphere in the hall started to become abnormal. Lin Rei and Zhu were still fine. However, Yixiang wasn't as relaxed as before. Speak, what's going on? Why are you here? If I remember correctly, you just left not long ago. In the end, Lin Rei opened his mouth and broke the oppressive atmosphere. He stared at the two of them, waiting for their response. He believed that what was going to happen next would be very interesting. Sure enough, as soon as this thought appeared, Zhu's voice changed. I want to take the real guy as my disciple. Oh, you want to take Yixiang as your disciple? Back then, what? You want to take that stinking brat, Yixiang, as your disciple? In the beginning, Lin Rei didn't come back to his senses. However, when he came back to his senses, the entire hall became lively. What's wrong? Why are you so excited? Seeing Lin Rei's startled appearance, Zhu rolled her eyes and said unhappily, No, Seeing Zhu's calm and confident appearance, Lin Rei was dumbfounded. How long has it been since they left? Furthermore, he had already seen Yixiang's aptitude before. It seems not all of them are top-notch. I can't even be considered second-rate. However, the power of my bloodline is extremely vigorous. However, that is because I don't have any special body constitution. Thus, in summary, he was unable to understand why Zhu wanted to take Yixiang as her disciple. Furthermore, more importantly, why would Zhu want to take Yixiang as her disciple? Enough, I've already confirmed this matter. Yixiang, this disciple, will definitely be taken in by Emperor Huang. As she said that, she had a don't stop me expression. Her appearance was extremely comical. However, Yixiang was unable to interrupt the conversation between the two of them. In the end, she was unable to contain herself and spoke up to stop the two of them from continuing their conversation. When the two of you are talking, can you not bring me along? Furthermore, as she said that, she looked at Zhu with an apologetic expression. I am sorry. It is not that you are not good enough. Rather, I have already experienced too much during this period of time. After saying that, Yixiang stood up and walked over to Lin Rei. Then, he cupped his hands and said, Senior, I will wait for you. I will wait until you are willing to take me as your disciple. Senior, please call for me at any time. This junior will always be by your side. Seeing Yixiang acting in such a manner, Zhu was dumbfounded. She was completely dumbfounded. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? At this moment, those were the words that were written all over Zhu's face. She was unable to understand why the situation would develop in such a manner. Earlier, she was clearly the one who was taking in a disciple. Why did she become Yi Xiang's disciple now? Furthermore, wait, you too, as if she had realized something, Zhu recalled Lin Rei's actions earlier. After all this time, it turned out that the two of them knew each other. Furthermore, Yi Xiang had the intention of marrying him. This won't do, even though she understood that it would be extremely difficult for Yi Xiang to become his disciple. When she thought about some of the things in Yi Xiang's body, her originally silent heart began to burn with passion once again. Yi Xiang, you can't do this. What's so good about this fellow? Furthermore, if you follow the Emperor will give you things that he can't. Whether it's cultivation techniques, secret techniques, combat techniques, or even movement techniques, you can have whatever you want. Furthermore, let me tell you this. Lin Rei's cultivation is no match for the Emperor. The Emperor can easily crush him with one hand. As she spoke, her face was filled with pride. It was as if she felt a great sense of accomplishment for saying this. On the other side, Lin Rei's face turned black. He never thought that Zhu would be so shameless in order to take in a disciple. She would intentionally injure him so that she could use him to cook. Lin Rei had already seen through Zhu's actions. However, he could not understand what Yi Xiang had that would cause Zhu to be so persistent. As he thought about it, he communicated with the system using his divine sense and said, "System, check all of Yi Xiang's information." Ding. Checking system is activated. Ding. Checking host's information. Name, Yi Xiang. Checking will now begin. Host, please wait. When he heard the system's cold voice, Lin Rei was extremely familiar with this feeling. He had experienced it many times before, so he did not think much of it. Time slowly passed. Finally, the long-awaited system notification rang in Lin Rei's ears. Ding. Yi Xiang. Emperor-level aptitude. Top-rank spiritual root. Tyrant body. Devouring blood. Temporarily sealed. Requires a large amount of energy to open. Chapter 1344. Emperor Grade Aptitude. What's that? Lin Rei was puzzled. However, he remembered that there was only Supreme Grade Aptitude on his information board. Aptitudes are categorized into lower, middle, upper, Supreme Grade, King Grade, Emperor Grade, Honorable Grade, Saint Grade, and Boundless Grade. According to the categorization, the host's aptitude is only at the 4th grade. So host, you have to work harder in the future. Otherwise, you will not be able to catch up, and your cultivation speed will be very slow. Lin Rei heard the system's explanation clearly. However, the system did not explain that there were different grades for aptitudes. He had always thought that Supreme Grade Aptitude was the highest grade. Now, it seemed that he had thought too much. After a long time, Supreme Grade Aptitude was only at the middle to lower grade. Damn it. Thinking about it, he felt unhappy. He did not expect that Yi Xiang, who he looked down on previously, would have a higher aptitude than him. Where was the justice? However, he felt much better when he thought about his spiritual root and physique. Of course, more importantly, he still had the system. As long as the system was around, everything would not be a problem. Aptitude? That was not a problem. He felt much better when he thought about the information given by the system. Yi Xiang's aptitude and talents were all sealed, especially his tyrant body. He had seen this kind of physique in the scripture depository. Tyrant body was the strongest physique in the world. It was born to walk the path of body tempering. Moreover, the path of body tempering would be very fast. It was many times stronger than ordinary body tempering. Yi Xiang's devouring. Devouring blood is another talent of his. However, is not a good thing. The bloodline in a physique is not compatible with the physique. This will hinder the cultivation of tyrant body in the future. More importantly, the devouring blood is not a particularly good bloodline. When you met the devouring clan, they had the devouring blood in their bodies. Their physique was the devouring physique. That was why their cultivation was so strong. Now, this little guy's physique is completely different from his bloodline, so the system did not continue. Regarding this, Lin Li's face turned ugly. Indeed, the Devourer clan that he had met back then was indeed very powerful. Linley had not expected that he would meet people with the Devourer bloodline in the underworld. Zhu, I'm sure you're aware of the problem with this little fellow's body. He believed that Zhu definitely knew about it. However, he was even more curious about how Zhu was going to solve this problem. Sure enough, a look of surprise flashed across Zhu's eyes when she heard this. In the end, she nodded and said, "That's right. The Emperor had already sensed this child when he first arrived. The mighty body has the strongest physique in the world, and the bloodline in your body is the devouring bloodline. In addition, you have an imperial aptitude and a supreme grade spiritual root. This is the first time that the Emperor has seen such a combination, let alone you." Looking at Yixiang, Zhu clicked his tongue and continued. "However, I think that the person behind him should know about the problem in his body. That's why he refined the things in his body and sealed them. I have to say that that person is wise. Ru Meng was sealed by the other party. I'm afraid that we won't be able to meet this little fellow now." Lin Ray nodded. He agreed with Lin Ray's point of view. However, to be able to seal such a physique, the person's cultivation must be extraordinary. At the very least, the person's cultivation must be similar to his. If that's the case, the way he looked at Yi Xiang changed. To possess such strength, he did not understand why the other party would come out to find a sect to be his disciple. Logically speaking, the cultivation of the person who sealed him should be extremely high. Why was it like this? To the side, Zhu felt that Lin Ray was acting strangely. She asked, "What are you thinking about?" "The Emperor is telling you. The Emperor wants this little fellow. If you dare to fight with the Emperor over him, humph, you'll have to weigh your own weight." After saying that, Zhu rolled up her sleeves. She had an appearance as if she was preparing for a fight. Yi Xiang, who was watching from the side, was puzzled. I'm sorry to interrupt." Yi Xiang's voice sounded from the side. "I say, can the two of you not use sound transmissions? If there's anything you want to say, just say it out. Also, what are the two of you doing?" Yi Xiang asked when he saw Zhu's appearance, as if she was about to fight. The originally solemn atmosphere was instantly shattered the instant Yi Xiang finished speaking. Zhu retracted her hands and looked at Yi Xiang with a serious expression. She cautiously said, "Little fellow, agree to the Emperor. Really, the Emperor will definitely be able to solve your problem. Furthermore, the Emperor that you want to become might not necessarily be inferior to Lin Ray." After saying that, in order to obtain Yi Xiang's affirmation, Zhu promptly turned her head and winked at Lin Ray. "Little fellow, hurry up. This old man has been lonely for so many years. It's rare for me to see a disciple who is honest. You don't mess things up for me." At this moment, Zhu's appearance was extremely comical. However, when he saw the serious expression in Zhu's eyes, Lin Ray was moved. At this moment, he was certain that Zhu was not joking. Thinking about the situation within Yi Xiang's body, he finally nodded helplessly. "Yi Xiang, this old thing is right. His cultivation is stronger than mine. Furthermore, it's not just by a little bit. Most importantly, if you acknowledge him as your master, you will receive a lot of benefits. For example, the young realm lord." Right. Lin Ray is right. "The Emperor is the realm lord of the Hongmeng realm. As long as you acknowledge me as your master, you will become the young realm lord of the Hongmeng realm. All the living beings in the Hongmeng realm will listen to your orders." Hearing the words of the two, Yi Xiang was stunned. He did not care about these things. Do you know the way of the sword? Is it as powerful as the myriad sword technique that Senior Lin displayed earlier? Lin Ray, at this moment, Zhu and Lin Ray deeply understood what it meant to collapse, what it meant to be helpless, what it meant to be defeated by you. The two of them chatted for a long time, offering all sorts of conditions. After a long time, Yi Xiang's attention was not on this at all. The only thing he wanted to know was the question he had asked Linley earlier. The way of the sword. Regarding this, Linley didn't know how obsessed Yi Xiang was with the way of the sword. Do you know the way of the sword? Seeing Zhu in a daze, Yi Xiang opened his mouth again and asked seriously. "Old thing, say something." He is asking you a question. Seeing Zhu still in a daze, Lin Rei used his elbow to poke Zhu twice. Oh, the way of the sword, right? After regaining his senses, Zhu stuttered and a long sword appeared in his hand. The long sword was 3 feet long and 2 fingers wide. There was a long red brand in the middle of the sword, and the 2 words Feng Shun were very eye-catching on the hilt. F*CK. This sword, Lin Rei naturally noticed the appearance of Feng Shun. Towards this Feng Shun, Lin Rei was tempted. This sword was a good item, especially the sword aura that was swimming around its body. It was obvious that it was not something he could obtain. At the very least, it was beyond the scope of his refinement. Based on his initial estimation, it was at least a 6th grade saint. Good sword. Chapter 1345. He stretched out his hand and slowly touched Feng Shun. This was the first time he had seen such a sword. Although it was not as high level as the dragon spear, it was the most expensive sword he had ever seen. What are you doing? Just as Lin Rei was about to touch Feng Shun, Zhu's voice rang in Lin Rei's ears. Suddenly, Lin Rei woke up from his stupor. He turned his head and saw Zhu's terrifying eyes staring at him. Feeling slightly awkward, Lin Rei did not know what to say. However, looking at Feng Shun, he could not help but say, "This Feng Shun is not bad. Can I have a look at it?" Moreover, he pointed at Yixiong and said, "His cultivation is still too low. Even if you give it to him, it would be useless. For a sword of this level, not to mention using it, even if he activated it, the spirit chi in his body would probably be sucked dry." As soon as these words came out, Yixiong gave Linli a strange look. He hadn't expected Linli to respond in such a manner. A hint of gratitude appeared in his eyes. Of course, only a small cabbage like Yixiong would think that Lin Rei was purely concerned about him. Zhu was different. After all, he was much older. The corner of his mouth rose, and he sneered. He clearly saw through Lin Rei's intention. "Linli, that's enough. I can't give you the investiture of the gods. It's for my disciple. Even if he can't use it now, he can wait until his cultivation improves. We can afford to wait." As he spoke, a storage ring appeared in his other hand. Feng Shun instantly entered the storage ring and handed it to Yixiong. "Here, this is for you. This storage ring is for you from now on." Seeing Feng Shun disappear and give it to Yixiong, Lin Rei realized that he had the intention to continue. As for Feng Shun, Yixiong only wanted to take a look at it. He did not have any intention of taking it for himself. For a weapon of this level, as long as he had the time, not to mention one, as long as he had the materials, he could get tens of thousands of them. At the same time, at the entrance of the restaurant, an old man wearing the uniform of the Alchemist Guild walked in. As soon as the old man appeared, the entire restaurant was no longer calm. There were cries of surprise, and there was an endless stream of people trying to curry favor. "Damn! Isn't this the president of the Alchemist Guild? Why is he here? That's right. Why is this supreme being here? Damn, don't tell me. He's here to eat? TSK, are you stupid? Do you think an existence at his level still needs to eat?" Yes, this person has never appeared on such an occasion before. For a moment, the entire restaurant was no longer calm. Even the owner of the restaurant was startled and ran all the way to the old man from upstairs. "Elder Yu, why are you here?" The old man named Ling Yu, also known as Elder Yu, was the president of the Alchemist Guild. His alchemist cultivation was at the peak of the entire Huanghui city. Even in the surrounding cities, he was one of the most famous people. Elder Yu stopped and looked at the boss who was trying to flatter him. Elder Yu frowned, but when he remembered that Lin Rei was here, his frown relaxed. "I'm here to look for one person." As he spoke, his words came to an abrupt halt as his gaze fell upon Linli, who was seated with Zhu and Yixiong in the distance. Suddenly, his pupils contracted. He no longer paid any attention to the restaurant owner as he jogged towards Linli and bowed respectfully. "Senior, I've finally found you." Clang. Suddenly, the entire restaurant was filled with clanging sounds. Everyone's jaws seemed to have been dislocated. Their expressions were colorful. The boss who was trying to flatter Elder Yu was even more shocked. Others might not know, but he was very clear about the strength and nature of this elder Yu. He was a man of his words and had a strange temper. He was a man who would suffer if he didn't agree with him. But now, while everyone was still in shock, Lin Rei heard Elder Yu's voice. He frowned and turned his head to look. "En? So it's you." Looking at Elder Yu, wasn't this the old man from the Alchemist Guild who was shocked by him before? Yes, 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 Senior, it's me. At this moment, Elder Yu was nodding and bowing with a flattering smile on his face. Once again, everyone was shocked. Lin Rei didn't care about the expressions of the people around him. He looked straight at the old man and said indifferently, "Did you bring the thing?" "Yes, I did." As he spoke, Elder Yu's body trembled. He quickly took out a storage ring and held it in front of Lin Rei with both hands. "Senior, there are 20 million high-grade netherworld jades here. Our Huanghui city is a 9th-grade city. The benefits are only this little, so we don't have that many high-grade netherworld jades. Please accept this little bit." Looking at Lin Rei's indifferent expression, Elder Yu thought that Lin Rei heard that he gave too little. He quickly explained. However, just as Elder Yu was worried, Lin Rei nodded and didn't say anything. Instead, he took the storage ring and kept it. He looked at Elder Yu again and continued. "Any news on the bloodline grass?" "A bloodline grass, this, and what? Don't tell me you don't have it in the Alchemist Union?" Seeing the old man stuttering, Lin Rei frowned. This was a little different from what he expected. According to the little dragon, there should be bloodline grass here, but looking at Elder Yu's expression, he didn't seem to have heard of it. The Union didn't have it either. On the side, hearing Lin Rei asking Elder Yu to find bloodline grass, Zhu's smiling face fell instantly. You asked him to find bloodline grass for you?" As soon as the words came out, the temperature in the air dropped to freezing point. Those who were strong were fine, but those who were weak were in trouble. Their bodies trembled, and some even fell to the ground, curling up into a ball. They looked very pitiful. Feeling Lin Rei's anger, Lin Rei's face was calm as he nodded as if he didn't feel it at all. "That's right. I did ask this old man to help me find bloodline grass. I don't see any hope with you. Maybe you really have heard of bloodline grass, but I don't have the confidence. After all, this concerns the evolution of my brother's bloodline. I can't take the risk." In addition, looking at the candle, Linley let out a sigh, then continued, speaking out of anger. "I, too, don't feel confident in being able to help you break through the ceiling formation." "So I see." Hearing Lin Rei's words, Zhu's anger was extinguished. Indeed, he had heard of bloodline grass. As for whether it existed or not, there was only one answer. As for bloodline grass, he didn't need it at all. After all, his bloodline was very strong. So, furthermore, he didn't place all of his hopes on Linley. With Linley's meager cultivation base, how could he possibly break the seal on his body? For Linley to be able to escape for a short period of time was already very good. In his eyes, disappointment flashed. Lin Rei noticed it and smiled bitterly. "Actually, you don't have to be so pessimistic. Maybe there will be a way in the future." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.